right. Thanks for tuning in to Let's Talk with Patrick podcast, one of the realest podcasts in the world, the land, the galaxy, the whole entire universe. And I have a unique guest. She is a RN and a traditional Tantra coach. What else do you do?
Hi, Patrick. I am a nurse. I've been a nurse for decades, but then I stumbled across. See, I'm twisting it up. I stumbled across Tantra. It literally changed my life in so many amazing ways. And so I became a certified Tantra educator. And now last year I went to a super rigorous program to become a trauma informed master coach because so many people have trauma around their sexuality and intimacy and other issues that can show up in the bedroom that are keeping us from having the most pleasure and the deepest connection. So that's a little bit about me. I went from saving lives to saving sex lives. So I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Well, that's very important because I feel like, at least from conversations I have with other women, men need some help. So
Yes,
they need a lot of
yes.
help to please a woman, especially because sometimes when I was young, I thought like about ramming my dick in there would be good enough, but
Mm-hmm.
no, you got to do way more than that to get a woman off. So I
Yes.
read about like women, as far as like having orgasms vaginally, what through intercourse is not as high compared to like clitoral stimulation. Am I correct?
Yeah, you're correct. You've done your research. Yeah, it's not very common.
Thank
It
you.
it can be challenging for women to have, vaginal orgasms, especially with penetration with a lover. Sometimes they can if they're using a toy and on their own, and I'll share a little bit more about why that is. But with a lover or partnered sex, the mind can trip us up, and there can be a lot of pressure. Sex has become so performative from what we've seen by watching adult videos. And so there's this performance aspect of it, and we never get the proper sex education. So it's not just shame or fault men, they just aren't educated about how amazing they can be in bed and what women truly desire. And we get misinformation when we don't get educated correctly. Of course, we're going to go look at videos to try to figure things out. And then we get miseducated, and men don't realize how powerful they are and how they can literally provide the type of sexual healing that Gaye would sing about in his songs. And so I'm just here not to have them feel bad. I just had this big awareness the other week. I was just thinking about, I think even in some of my messaging, when I share with men, oh, you can have non ejaculatory orgasms, or you can be multi orgasmic too. And as I was reflecting and in a deep meditation, I realized, wow, some of your messaging may really come across to men as if you're shaming them, or it might be very intimidating because they're thinking, I don't know that I can do that. And I'm not here to make them feel inadequate or that they're not doing enough. I'm here to remind them of how powerful they are. They've just never been, no one's ever shared with them what the possibility is. And so they're kind of with these blinders on, and they've limited themselves because they don't even know it's possible to experience. So I'm just here as a reminder of like, this is how amazing you are. And this is how much more amazing sex can be. And literally, you can provide so much healing to the feminine on the planet when you tap into your power and you start using it in a different way than you have in the past. But if we don't know that and we're limited because our perception, our awareness, we don't know it's possible, then we go and we do the things that we see in adult videos, which are very shallow sex, egoic. We're having our needs. I did this before Tantra, having my ego validated, having just my superficial needs met, just getting off and not even realizing that there was so much more there for me. And that when I was settling for these experiences that were really shallow with being with other, fuck boys or whatever, and I was being a fuck girl also, so I'm not shaming anyone, that I was really limiting myself and my experiences.
Oh, interesting. So guys can have an orgasm without ejaculating.
Yeah. Yeah, you
Really?
can.
How is that
Yeah.
possible?
It takes a while to learn this. It's a mastery. I want you to think about female orgasms. Sometimes women can squirt and they haven't even fully orgasmed. So they're squirting fluid out but they're not having like a full body orgasm. It's just you get pressure in that point and it's squirting out. A little bit similar for males because the G spot, like when we're in utero, when we're a fetus and we haven't differentiated into whether we're going to be anatomically male or female, the cluster of cells that forms the G spot also forms the P spot, which is the prostate gland. So then when it decides if you're XY or X chromosomes, when that starts, you continue to develop, then it separates. So the cells that make the prostate gland form the G spot in women. So men literally got their G spot shoved up their butt. So men can actually experience like life-changing, really powerful orgasms through that stimulation. But again, there's so much shame about that in our society, and they don't want to be gay. Not that there should be shame about being gay, but you know how the world has operated for so long and these points of view. And so people will be like, oh, or we think that that's dirty because, you know, of the location or, you know, butt stuff, doing things like that. It's nasty, that's dirty, blah, blah, blah. So there's all these stories in there, and it really can have a lot of pleasure. Men can have like some really soulful, like life-changing orgasms through having that type of stimulation. Now,
Wow.
and it takes a while to learn and connect to your body and your energy and learn how to separate your orgasm from your ejaculation. But when you're ejaculating for males, you're literally shooting your energy and the sperm and this, you know, all the fluids out. But what you want to do, what Tantra helps you to do, and what also not just Tantra, based in India, and there's some Buddhist Tantra practices, but in China is the Taoist practices, which are very similar. And the emperors would use these practices because they had many women that they were being with, right? They would learn to bring that energy of the orgasm up into their bodies. So they weren't shooting their life force energy out of their bodies, because your sexual energy is your life force energy. It's literally the energy that you were created from. So I'm not sure why there's so much shame in our world about sex, because if it wasn't for sex, none of us would be here. But it can be really
Absolutely.
challenging to have these conversations and get the education that we deserve. So if you're constantly frequently ejaculating, like what you see in porn and the money shot and this and that, and dudes are like masturbating often, or they have an addiction to the adult videos, I don't think that that's by mistake. I think that that is literally weakening men and keeping them from fully stepping into their power. Because the powerful leaders and the emperors back in the day, thousands of years ago, they understood this. So they know, like Taoist practices, they will limit the amount of ejaculations they have per week or per month based on their age and their health status. And the Taoists believe that the reason, on average, males' life, you know, longevity is not as long as females is because men lose a lot of their life force energy through frequent ejaculation. Women, we lose our life force energy through pregnancy, childbirth, and menstruation. But we get charged up with an orgasm. You'll see a woman be more talkative. Unless you're being with someone, like sometimes a woman can have an orgasm and be really fall asleep, but usually the male will fall asleep faster. And usually a woman is able to go more rounds, which is kind of also funny how our society, men will be like, oh, I need to have a threesome. Well, really, really? Because you probably really fully can't keep up with me. You want to add another person in here? You know, if anyone could have
Yeah.
I probably would have the drive to be able to handle being with more than one person. I haven't done that with having multiple male partners, but I'm just saying physically women are able to do that. And I think that there's also been something in our society where men have felt intimidated by that, with knowing that, but not wanting to admit to it. And so shaming and trying to get women to feel bad about their sexuality and like, you know, limit what they should be doing or slut shaming XYZ, because we can literally have the types of sex lives that men dream about having, but then we get repressed or shamed from even doing it. So it's a real weird world that we live in.
That is very weird and interesting at the same time, because I'm the type of guy, I'm very open minded. I don't shame a woman for liking sex just as much as me or even more than me at all. It just let's just have a conversation. But
Yeah.
that is real profound what you said though. Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
So if you're not constantly shooting that energy out, and then with breath work practices and you tap in your energy, your chakras or your energy centers, you do breathing and you visualization, because where your attention goes, energy flows, and start to bring that energy inward, men can have full body orgasms. They can have multiple orgasms. I had one of my clients, and he was in his 50s. He said, I never knew this was possible to do in my body. He goes, I now, when I feel my orgasm, I feel it from the top of my head down to my big toe.
Wow.
So then
Interesting.
you can charge yourself up instead of draining yourself, because you're literally, when men are constantly ejaculating, then that's why you fall asleep. And that's sometimes why men, they won't understand, but they'll distance themselves from the woman the next day. And then the woman's upset, like, oh, you're not calling or you're not interacting with me. Well, for survival of the species, men, you have to replenish all of those cells, all of the DNA, the minerals, everything that was ejaculated out. Your body has to restore that and rebuild that again. So your body is a little bit depleted and is like, hey, man, like, back off, stay to yourself for a moment. We've got to rebuild up here. We can't just continue that, right? But you don't know why it is. And you're just kind of feeling like, oh no, like I just kind of need to be to myself, because we don't understand. It's like a thing for even surviving for males, because you don't want to constantly be ejaculating.
Right. Wow. Damn. See, I wish more people knew about this because I think it'd be a
Me
lot better
too.
society. I think.
Yes, we would have so much
Wow.
more love in the world as well. I had an Instagram page that was at Yes Tantra. And this last Mercury in retrograde was a really doozy for me, and levels of in my family. I had a bunch of major losses, and that were much worse than my Instagram loss. But at the same time, I lost my Instagram page, and I had over 30,000 followers there. But they're just like, "Oh, what you're sharing isn't meeting community guidelines," and I get that. But at the same time, what we also see a lot of on Instagram that is okay, and I'm here about empowerment. And I'm just like, well, if it wasn't for sex, you wouldn't have the community to have community guidelines for. And if you think about whenever we first got sex education, if we received sex education, it was about shaming, waiting until you're married, a lot of fear. Don't get pregnant, don't get STDs. And even the STDs, they would show pictures that were like the most graphic, because I've been a nurse for a while. A lot of these symptoms and the rashes or whatever you see don't look as bad, but they show the very worst ones in the textbooks. And they have people that be very afraid. And so no one ever sits and talks to us and tells us how powerful our sex can be. My mom would tell me, oh, let me know when you want to have sex. And that had me wait, because I wasn't rebelling against anyone, because my mom gave me permission. She's like, oh, just let me know when you want to get on the pill. You're going to love sex. I love sex. Your dad loves sex. Your grandparents love sex. It's like, oh my goodness. But she still was approaching it from a very shallow ego place. No one
Hmm.
really tells us, there's so much power. You can even manifest more. You can magnetize things to yourself. You can have such a healing experience on an energetic level, an emotional level, when you can have deep intimacy and connection. And pleasure is medicine. But no one tells us these things. These are things from even, and most of the time our parents and our grandparents didn't know. A lot of this is ancient wisdom from thousands of years ago. And the royalty would know this, and they wouldn't let the common people know it, because they knew they didn't want the common people to be so empowered. So it was kept hidden, and just the royalty would know these things. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, that's amazing. Wow. So, what got you into this sex world in the first place? Like, what made you intrigued by it from your own personal experience, or what?
Well, back in the day, I love the music of Sting, and I would hear
Okay.
him
Yeah.
talk. I don't know. This has probably been about 20 years ago. I would hear him talk about having tantric experiences with his wife and lasting for hours. And I'm a Scorpio. I'm born on Halloween. I enjoy sex. And I was like, oh, sex for hours? Let me know about that. And I was really curious about it. And then I bought a book when I lived in Texas, in a smaller town in Texas. And I bought a book on Tantra, and I didn't even open it to read it. I put it on my shelf thinking, I need to find a partner that would be interested in this, and then I'll learn it. if I would have opened the book, I would have seen that you don't need a partner to begin. It starts with you. You'll actually do better if you first learn the foundational techniques on your own and then get mastery with that. And then you add a lover in. And it helps you attract better lovers as well, because you start to have healing. As I have gone through, like whenever you look at Tantra, again, wisdom of over 5,000 years old, the three main tenets of Tantra are breath, sound, and movement. When I received my my trauma-informed master coaching from Elementum Coaching last year, whenever we were going over trauma, the three things that support healing trauma: breath, sound, and movement. So that's how you have the sexual healing. And I could see that once I did have an experience with Tantra and I started doing these practices, that's where I started healing past wounds. Because I'm an older generation, and the older generations, we didn't want to go to therapy or address our childhood traumas because we didn't want to be labeled as crazy. So
Facts.
people would either numb out or turn to alcohol or drugs, or have sexual addictions, and also go super into religion or other things to find some kind of solace because they didn't ever get the support. But another thing that I learned is that over 95% of adults received inadequate parenting, and these traumas just continue to get passed down generation after generation. So that started helping me on my healing pathway. But I bought the book. It was another decade before I had an experience. I took the book with me when I packed up my little car and went to California from Texas. I went to LA to do a travel nursing gig. And there I met a man who actually was from Texas. And he had been a pro athlete, a pro football player before I met him. And he had been studying Tantra for a year. He had dated a very, successful Tantra coach. And she had learned from her guru in India. And I was with him. And whenever I was with him, he did not mention Tantra to me. He didn't tell me. And I had this experience when I was with him, and we were on no substances. And I was with him for 5 hours. And I was able to experience 5 hours of prolonged ecstatic states of pleasure and bliss that gave me what we would call in Tantra Kundalini awakening, where all my chakras open and my third eye chakra and my crown chakra open. And I was not there I was there based on my ego. This was a good looking dude. I was in LA. I was approaching sex like Samantha from Sex and the City. I wasn't there for an awakening, okay? But it happened. I'm forever grateful for it. But it literally changed my whole life path. And I was with him again the next night. And then he shared with me that he had studied Tantra. And he goes, "You're naturally Tantra without even knowing what it is." And that's when I ended up learning from his first, Tantra teacher that he had dated. And I started learning. And later it changed my life so much that later I got my certification. I became a teacher because it radically changed my life.
So how do you go about getting certified?
You just need to be sure that you work with a program where the people are credentialed, and, just be sure who you're learning from and that they have a lot of integrity. Some of the programs aren't as great, or some of the great programs, like the great teachers like Margot Anand, she taught one of my teachers, but now she's retired. So you just have to look into different programs. There's one right now, I think it's called Authentic Tantra. And if you get your certification with them, you can also, they're accredited where you can become a sexologist at the same time. And they look at more the Buddhist lineages. And I have a lot of respect. I've heard really good things about their program as well. And it just changed my life so much. And I took the role as a nurse. I could assist with open heart surgeries, and I've helped do neurosurgeries. If any surgery required 2 surgeons, I had this specialized training to take a role of an assisting surgeon. I could suture and everything. And I was always fascinated with the heart and cardiac ever since I became a nurse. I became a nurse when I was 19. I worked cardiac intensive care unit, cardiac cath lab. The heart always fascinated me. And then with this experience, I realized, wow, Tantra, these are the tools that really open people's hearts. And this is a way that I can meet people instead of meeting people as a nurse when they're having a lot of illness and disease or dis-ease in their body, usually from emotional traumas. I could meet them at an earlier point in their timeline and educate them about the power they can have with their sexuality, and then dive deeper and give them other tools so that they could have a certain healing and hopefully not have to be hospitalized. And at least if illness did still come their way, when they did take their last breath, they wouldn't have the regrets that I would see my patients would have and would share with me that would break my heart. So I was like, I can't do anything for them now that they're here and we're to this point. Give me a way to meet them before we get here. And then when I work with my clients, your body's an instrument to experience pleasure. So I do a 360 approach. And it's just like, how do we optimize your nutrition, your health? How do we look at, because in the medical world, or we don't really have a healthcare system. We honestly have a sick care system, unfortunately, run by big pharma. There's a lot of money to be made. So there's not a lot of motivation to get people well. If you can continue to have them recurring and returning to the hospital, returning to get their prescriptions filled, right? And one thing that we don't look at with patients is their energetic bodies. We don't look at their emotional bodies. We don't look at their traumas. And disease is just dis-ease, discomfort in our bodies. And a lot of it is our bodies are trying to communicate with us through symptoms about emotions that we have from past traumas and from different parts of our bodies. Like I have a book here on my table, and I always share it with my clients. Like whenever they have a symptom or pain is presenting in their body, I'll ask them to share where it is. And then I can look in that book and we can go into like which emotions are associated with this, what family members maybe this is coming from. Is it a male person, a female person in their life? Because your right side of your body is your masculine side of your body. Your left side of your body is your feminine side of your body. And, we don't look at those things whenever in the modern medicine. They don't go, they want to give you something to help you with the symptoms that you're having. So like if you're having some pain because of an illness that you have or whatever, they'll give you some pain pills or whatever. If you're having itching or a rash, they'll give you some allergy medicine. But like, what is the root cause? But these things get you more down to the root cause. And if you can let go and release emotions, because in our modern world, we recycle hurt and painful emotions, and we just repress, and repression and suppression lead to depression. And the antidote of that is expression. So I help my clients, like, where are those stuck memories? Where, inner child healing, the mother-father wounds from past lovers. How do we repair that so that you can optimize your body, your energetic body, and your nervous system, your emotional body, so you can be thriving in the world instead of being in survival mode?
Right.
But this
Have you
all
ever dealt
happened
with?
for me from a man who was tapped in and knew the power of being supportive of a feminine, of the woman, and taking their time with the woman to allow me to go to such a place of having pleasure in my body that it had me curious as to what else was possible for me to experience that had been hidden from me in plain sight. Kind of like Alice in Wonderland. I went down the rabbit hole. I was like, what else is there? I did not know I could do this.
So have you ever dealt with depression yourself?
I haven't. I don't know. There was a lot of times that I could have been really depressed, but I think that I would disassociate a lot, and I would just pretend everything was okay. But because my mother had suicidal depression, so I had to parent her from a young age. She was an alcoholic, and several times in my childhood, through my teen years to my adult life, I saved her from suicide attempts until when I was an adult living in another city, I wasn't there to rescue her anymore. So I think that because her sadness and her depression was so scary for me, like my daughters could even see, they're adults now, but my daughters shared with me recently, I've been doing so much healing now through all the trainings that I've done. I've been really facing off with a lot of things. And one of my daughters was like, you would never really let us see you sad. And just like, I won't drink. You know how we do this thing? We want to overcorrect from where our parents messed up. So we like we swing the pendulum so extremely the other way. So for me, my mom was alcoholic. So like, I don't drink. I've been drunk in high school, but as an adult, I don't drink. And people will be like, oh, like, they thought I already had it, was a recovering alcoholic the way we didn't drink. But I just did not want to be an
Wow.
alcoholic like my mom, because they've been from my great grandfather, his only child, which was my grandmother, her only child, my mom. I was like, I don't want to continue that. So I didn't drink. And then I thought, oh, I'm doing so good with my kids because they don't have to be in a home of an alcoholic parent. Well, what I didn't realize I was doing is still when there were challenges, I would yell or be angry like my mother would, because nothing like an angry drunk. There's no filter, no boundaries. And I could rage, but I wouldn't let them show my sadness. And lately, as I've been doing my healing, I'll sit and cry with my daughters. They're adults now. I said, global warming's a real thing. I'm like the iceberg, and I'm thawing out like all these emotions. I was like, sometimes I just cried. I don't know why. Like, I just let the tears fall now. But when my daughters share with me, yeah, you never would really let us see you sad. I hadn't noticed that, Patrick. And then I thought,
Wow.
oh, I was also disconnecting from sadness because I didn't want my daughters to experience drunk alcoholic. I didn't want to put them through the stress I went through as a kid of being around so much sadness that it was scary. So I cut that off. So was I depressed? I was just
Right.
coping in other ways and repressing it. Yeah.
Wow. Huh. Interesting. Because I definitely had my depressed moments for sure. Because I went through a lot in my life, but now I just focus on the healing. I focus on the positive things that I can control. So anyway, I want to go back into the G spot stuff. Okay, like the butt stuff you talked about earlier. Okay, so does have you done it yourself, right? Pretty much.
Have I had G spot orgasm myself? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. Yeah. Have you? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I have, but it's never, it's a really unusual thing. Like, I think men will be like, how do you have a woman have a G spot orgasm? It really takes a lot for a woman. Women really need to feel a lot of safety and trust with a man more than anything.
Yeah. I mean,
So when they
because when I
can,
have, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. My bad.
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say when I have like fuck women in the ass when they got off, I will stimulate the clit or they do it themselves. That's when they get off like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so you're saying like if you're having anal sex with them penetrative, then they have a G spot
Yeah.
orgasm? If they're, yeah.
Yeah. But they haven't like they stimulate the clit while they're doing it at the same time.
Yeah, I always
They might
encourage
use a
my female
vibrator.
clients to do that. Yeah, and it's great that you're open to that. That's why I tell men, like, sex toy is not your competition; it's collaboration. It's a team effort, because if you're able to do that and use that, and you don't feel like that it is anything you have to compete against, and you're just enjoying, and it can bring more pleasure to both of you, then go for it. Because if she's
Right.
having more pleasure and it helps her and she's able to relax, then she's going to want to be with you more, because you're not, your ego's not getting in the way of her having pleasure. Are you saying, oh no, we
Right.
can't have that in here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try to be open. Most women that I've been with, they know I'm very open. I had conversations with women. I'm like, yep, I would try this, try that. I will not let a woman peg me. I'm not open to that. I can't do that. Now I let women
And
lick
I
my
can
ass. I
understand
let
that.
them do that.
Repeat that.
I said I have let women lick my ass. I let them do that.
Yeah. Yeah. That
I
feels
did let
really
them. Yeah.
good. And I love that we're having this conversation in August, because, it is anal August, just so you know.
Really? I didn't know that.
hmm
Wow.
August 1st began anal August. Yeah, I had done a quick little video on YouTube about it. So this is just the right timing for this conversation.
Yeah, I see
But,
that. I did not know that.
a lot of men will want to experience the pegging. And the reason is it's not that they're weak. Usually it's men that are very, very successful in high power positions. They're always having to make the decisions all the time. They're always having to be in their minds and, you know, be in these top, these high pressure jobs, and it gives them an opportunity to just surrender and let go and let someone else be in control of everything for a change. So it's a way of having a dynamic, like a shift. It's a shift in power. So you're like
Interesting.
able to fully surrender and get in a different headspace, because 99.9% of the time you're over here. So it allows you to go and have a different experience. So it's really not associated with, people can be like, oh, that's like so weak, or we can have these stereotypes about it. But men can have really amazing pleasure and they don't have to do it where they're getting pegged. They can use different toys and do things on their own, because there is a way. Anything, it depends on your intention and the partner that you're with. Now, if your partner is wanting to be degrading to you, and that is they're objectifying you and they're pegging the man, then that's different, right? There's just different ways of
Yeah.
experiencing it. But if the person is like, you know what, your G spot, I mean, I love my G spot to be stimulated, and your G spot happens to be there. If we can do some things where I can massage it and we use things to bring pleasure, you could try to have an orgasm that way. Like, you could probably have an orgasm. Like, I say my tantric orgasm was like a soulgasm. And I think for men, like, that prostate orgasm could be an equivalent of a soulgasm for them. And I received my enlightenment through my soulgasm. And I almost wonder, like, this is a little bit conspiracy theory, okay? But I
Okay.
think that maybe why for so long there's been so much taboo around men, being with men, or around men experiencing something like this, and there's been so much shame about it, is because people have known that can be actually unlock a lot of power within men and a lot of awareness and enlightenment, when that's like your God spot or your hero spot, your king spot on you. And to have that stimulated could really unlock a lot for you. But if you think it's bad or taboo or wrong, you just will never go there, then you're just going to continue with this like low vibration, ego based sex, and you won't really have, that experience of your full power, of what's fully possible on these ecstatic states of prolonged bliss. Because you release certain hormones, and certain hormones and everything are released when you're in these really amazing ecstatic spaces. But if you're having a quick, like for men, if you're just having a quick orgasm, it's like for women having a clitoral orgasm, because anatomically, again, the head of the penis is like the clitoris for the female. So when you're rubbing on the
Absolutely.
clitoris and a woman, it's like bzz, and it's real quick and it's over. And you're having these short little bursts of orgasmic energy go through you. But if you really had something that was having waves of orgasm going into the core of your being, up through your soul, up to your levels of consciousness, to your third eye, what could that do for you?
Mm.
But if you're empowered, the like there's a lot of things. The pineal gland is where your third eye is. What calcifies the pineal gland? Fluoride. What do we have in our drinking water? Fluoride. Why is that? Just, I don't think that it's easier to control people or a populace of people if they're not aware, self-aware, and if they're not woke to who they are. If they just are in their vices and in low vibration ways of being, and lowering their own vibration and having bad habits, and just being in this, on the hamster wheel of what they're doing in their lives, and then just going to work, being good tax paying citizens, paying their taxes, go home, have some beers. Why is it okay to have alcohol? Like, as a nurse, I've never had anyone be hospitalized for marijuana. Maybe if they've had it laced with something, they went to the ER, but I've never had a patient that had a chronic illness. But I've had a lot of patients with cirrhosis of the liver. I've had in neurotrauma ICU, I've had a lot of patients that are brain dead because either they were drunk or they were hit by a drunk driver. I've seen a lot of suffering from alcohol, but that stuff is legal and it's on every corner, and especially in neighborhoods where there's a lot of poverty, you'll see more liquor stores there. There's a
That's so
reason.
true. Yeah,
And liquor
that's
is
fact.
really bad for us. But these other substances that could give us enlightenment
Mushrooms.
are not easily available to us. And just now, because they can make some money through taxes on it, now they're considering making, in certain states, making certain things legal. But if they really cared about our greatest evolution as a human,
So is
we would be educated properly about sex. We would, porn, like it's so easy to access Pornhub. Why? Free porn,
that's
just
so true.
stuff that was really can destroy you and be addictive and take you to a low vibration is so easily accessible. And the things that could enlighten you or have you have a better experience in your life are hidden from you or made illegal.
I have to admit, porn had affected me once upon a time as well. Oh Lord,
I
yeah, it
appreciate you
affected me
admitting that.
psychologist. Yeah, I mean, it's facts. I'm not gonna lie. It messed me up bad. I had to go to the urologist once upon a time just to
Yeah.
make sure I'm okay. I had to wean
Yeah.
myself off the situation so I could be back normal again because it was just weird. Because it's very addicting. I was late to work before because I had to go, be at home and get myself off. And yeah, it's embarrassing, but it's real
It is
and
real.
it
And
happens
like
a lot.
younger and younger men are having erectile dysfunction because of watching porn. And it's different than like when back in the day, a young boy might find his mom's Sears
Magazines,
catalog with some racy swimsuits in there or something and get to use a still image when they're masturbating. If they're lucky, they would find a Playboy magazine. But not videos, but in a video, your brain, because again, your brain is your largest sex organ. So your
yeah,
brain is getting a rapid fire sequence of money shot, money shot, money shot, and becomes dependent on that level of stimulation. So when I
right.
work with my clients with neuroplasticity, we're working with your brain to create new pleasure pathways and longer pleasure pathways. So you can start to have a different relationship with pleasure. And then women don't understand, like if their lover's not really interested in having sex with them, it could be because they already pleasured themselves, or maybe they're starting to have a little ED from this and they're having some performance anxiety. And so they're just like really not going there with you. And then women are feeling like they're not desired by their partners and they don't understand their partners may secretly have a porn addiction because it's more common than you're aware of. And then the
Have you
less that they're able to have sex with their partner because they're starting to have early ED, they are more dependent on the porn and then they lean on the porn more.
have you experienced that before with somebody?
There was one person I dated that I was suspecting that maybe he was doing a little porn because he was being really weird about the sex with me. And like I'm very intuitive. And as I look back at it, I was like, I think maybe he was like had a little bit of an addiction to porn that I wasn't aware about because it wasn't really making sense to me, you know?
Mm,
But
right.
that was before I had the understanding that I had about porn. So then when I looked at it, connecting the dots backward, I was like, yeah, I think maybe so. Maybe he had a challenge there. It can
Right.
be a real mind fuck though to date a sex coach.
I'm
'Cause
sure. I can only,
for a
I
man,
can
you
only
know what I'm
imagine.
saying?
Yeah. I
So
I'll say this: porn has gave me a distorted view about sex once upon a time. Even though I was having sex
exactly.
before I watched it, but when I started watching it more, I started to want to do some of those acts they was doing, like some certain positions. I'm like, that's not how we really fuck in real life, but I wanted to try that shit. And
Yeah.
it give you this unrealistic expectation that you want in a woman. You want her to do all these crazy things. Not to say some women don't do those things, but I'm saying like you expect every woman to do all that.
Well, it becomes very performative. So then again,
Yeah.
if we don't get the right sex education, both men and women go look at porn. Even once I was thinking, oh, it'd be cool to tell one of my lovers, like, let's turn on a porn and let's try to recreate what they're doing together. Like, I thought that would be cool. That's me falling for the whole thing that's so prevalent in our society because what do we think? We think they're the celebrities of sex. They're porn stars. Well, I'm friends with a bunch of porn stars. I've been friends with porn stars that have been legendary porn stars for over 20 years. They're in the Hall of Fame for porn. And one of them, she's just like, I don't even consider it sex. I can that when I go on set, that's cardio with penetration. That's not sex to me.
Mm.
It's all very performative. They should have warnings that say, do not try this at home.
Right.
And the women are acting, but then men think, oh, they're really enjoying this. They're acting. A lot of times I was friends with a woman that was the squirt queen of 2008. Her name's Annie Cruz. And I remember seeing some posts where she was calling out other women, like, I know that you're just drinking a lot of water and then peeing during your scenes, or I know that like you're doing something like stuffing, maybe a balloon or something that like could pop, and make it look like they're squirting or gushing. She's like, she's really good at squirting. That's her thing. She's like, you guys need to stop faking the squirting. Like, she was calling out other porn stars in the industry. So,
Wow.
there's a lot of it's an illusion. And I had a friend, I did some modeling in LA, and I had a friend that was a makeup artist on the sets. And she says, if you would be on a set of a porn movie, it would turn you off to porn a lot. And a lot of times I'm doing the women's makeup, and then I'm having to repowder their nose and stuff because they're all snorting up and they're doing different things. Like, it's not always the best scenarios, right? I don't know. You just have to think about what you're taking in, especially if you're consuming something and maybe there's sex trafficking or something involved. Just think of the energy of what you could be taking in of someone that maybe isn't even willfully doing that, or is doing it because they have a drug addiction. Like, you really want to support that? You just
No.
have to be aware, because energetically you're consuming that energy in a way, So it's a
Yeah.
low vibration.
So do
And
you
then men
think
miss the
that
mark,
one
like to be intimate.
they do, right? Well, from what I heard. So do you think we can reverse that somehow, or you think we pretty much just doomed at this
No,
point?
I think we totally can reverse it. I think when
Yeah.
men start to really connect to their bodies and how powerful they are, and just slowing things down. Like, for example, I'll show you something really quick. If you get your hand, I want you to get your hands together. And anyone listening, as long as you're not driving your car, you can try this too. Put your hands together and rub them back and forth really fast. Really fast. Okay, now go really slow, back and forth. I want you to notice how much more sensation you can feel when you go slow.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So men will be exerting a lot of force doing this jackhammer move that you see in porn or something, and put a lot of effort in and be exerting themselves and getting themselves fatigued in the process. And they're thinking they're really doing a lot for the woman, but our brain, again, is the largest sex organ. Your brain can't even process the sensations of that. It's too fast to even process. When you slow down, the woman can feel so much more. And then if you know how to
That's
connect
different.
with your heart, and if you know how to connect with your heart and have intimacy and really fully be present, because a lot of times a woman, we're very intuitive. We can tell when a man is just masturbating inside of our bodies. And it is often a fantasy over there checked out, but is inserted inside of us. It's totally different. Women really crave that connection. If you can drop in and be fully present, and meditation is the first step, because meditation helps you with your monkey mind that can distract you from pleasure. So for women, the longer a woman can be in a meditative state, the easier it will be for her to orgasm. Because it's often the mind that is distracting you, the monkey mind jumping around of like being overthinking. When you're overthinking, you're underfeeling. And if you're thinking of the long list of things that you need to do, or an argument that you had, or something you're stressing about the next day, or the dirty laundry in the corner, or you're worried about what your body is looking at like, and you're just, and again, because you see things in porn, the women look a certain way, then women are comparing, and men are comparing themselves to men in porn as well,
That is
with
true.
these unrealistic standards. And then you're not happy with yourself. You don't feel like you're enough. It's a real mind fuck. And then you're not able to really fully be in the present moment and fully be there with your partner and connect and have intimacy and connection. And you don't experience as much pleasure. Now, for men, the longer a man can stay in a meditative state, the longer he'll be able to last in bed before he ejaculates. Because again, your brain is your largest sex organ, and we don't realize that. So that's why stress, if a man is having a lot of stress in the workplace and things like that, or a woman, it can impact your libido and your desire. And just so, we can have a level of sex that would literally blow your mind. And I've had probably hundreds of lovers. I this year on Halloween, I'll be 55. I was born in 1968. So
55. Really?
yeah,
Really?
orgasms are the
Wow.
orgasms are the fountain of youth for women.
What?
Non-ejaculatory orgasms are the fountain of youth for men. Yeah. My oldest
I would
daughter
have never
just turned. I think like 36, 37, I don't know. 36, I think.
I would have never guessed. That's amazing. Wow. Give it up for
Thank you.
orgasms. All right.
You see all these white hairs right here?
Yeah. Well, I
So,
mean, still, I just didn't know.
yeah.
You aging gracefully. That's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. But yeah, again,
Absolutely.
like for women, orgasms are the fountain of youth. That's why you need to continue to have pleasure and not stop having pleasure. Pleasure is medicine, it's deeply healing. And for women, like if you're not stimulating in your, in Tantra, you have these chakras. We all have it, but Tantra talks about it more. We have these energy centers in different areas of our body. In our main channel of our body, we have 7 chakras. At the base of our spine, we have the root chakra, a little bit up, a few inches above that, about our pelvic area, we have our sacral chakra. And then like below where your bra strap on a woman would be, in the front would be your solar plexus. Then you have your heart chakra, your throat chakra, your third eye chakra, your crown chakra. And the sacral chakra, which is your second one from the bottom, is connected to your creativity, your sexual energy, your sexuality. This chakra is connected to your sex organs and it's connected anatomically to your mouth, energetically, these spaces. So if you're not stimulating that chakra through pleasure, whether it's self-pleasure or sex with a lover, you're going to stimulate that chakra by eating. That's where you will heal. Usually women will say, oh, this tastes better than sex. A lot of times when women have stopped having sex and they've stopped that part of their life because of maybe their hormones, menopause, whatever's happening, they're having low libido, or they just don't have a partner, and they're not into self-pleasuring, they're not into prioritizing themselves or their pleasure, then they'll stimulate that chakra through maybe binge eating, emotional eating. And again, you've heard women say, oh, this tastes better than sex. That's what you're doing.
Wow.
So you want to stimulate it through your sex organs, because then you're not going to hold that extra weight from probably, eating in unhealthy ways, because, your body is really wanting to have pleasure. It's your pleasure center. Because we
So
all
let me ask you this.
crave pleasure. Yeah. So a lot of
Do you
times I
think
could
do you
tell when I worked in the hospital, I would see women that would have, and they'd be midlife to older, or sometimes younger, but they would have like diseases in their sex organs and stuff. But I could tell their sexual energy was so shut down and they were so like kind of rigid and closed off in this way. And my intuition was they just weren't like very sexual beings. And then they would have challenges in those areas of their bodies because you're getting stuck, stagnant energy. Imagine your energy needs to flow like a river through your body. And if you have a body of water, a river flowing, it's constantly flowing, right? And the energy is moving. But if you have like a pond or a body of water that's just stagnant and it has like the scum across the top, that's where disease can develop, because you have that stagnation. And you don't want to be stagnant with your sexual energy. But women, we can think that, oh, if we're in a relationship, we shouldn't be masturbating anymore because that's just something I do with my man, or my woman, like my partner, I don't do it for me. Or if maybe their husband is aging and doesn't know the Tantra practices and aren't able to have sex with them, then they're like, oh, well, my sex life is over too. But if anyone deserves to enjoy your body, it's you, because it's your body. Like, you should be able to pleasure your body, and you are your longest lasting relationship from your first breath to your last. And when you can be your own best lover and give yourself amazing pleasure, you're showing the universe, source, more powerful being outside of us, what you feel you deserve. And with law of attraction, like attracts like, you're going to attract better lovers that will also show up for you that way. But first you have to do it for yourself. First you have to be loving yourself. You have to be your own best lover. Then you attract these things to you.
So let me ask you this: do you think people need to have more sex?
Yeah, definitely. But the right kind of sex. Like, we have a lot of ego-based, shallow sex, but we wish that we could have a soulmate. But how are we going to have a soulmate if we don't know how to have soulful sex? Like, Tantra is a way to have sex and make love to someone's soul, have intimacy. How many times can we be butt naked in the bed with someone? One, we can't communicate our desires with them or let them know what we really want. And even above that, we're not comfortable making eye contact. In Tantra, there's a very powerful practice for intimacy called eye gazing. because your eyes are the windows to the soul. But a lot of times people, that's a very edgy thing for them, and they're not comfortable with it because we're constantly wearing a mask. We're afraid to fully be seen. So we're just having like these superficial sex and the shallow sex, and then wondering why our relationships are shallow. But it all
That's true.
starts with how you're having sex. How can you connect? Can you really connect to this person and really see them for who they are, and be with someone safe enough and you feel comfortable to fully reveal who you are? Then you can have sex that's beyond anything you ever imagined. Before I had this experience with my soulgasm, I had my soulgasm when I was 44. The amazing, it happened when I was in LA. A decade later, this year in March, on the day that I had my first soulgasm, LA Weekly ran an article about the work that I do. They ran it early on the day when I had my first soulgasm, talking about soulgasm and the work that I do as a Tantra coach. And I was like, wow, if that is not amazing, the timing of that. But I was already having better sex than most of my friends. My friends were like, the sex tips you taught me saved my marriage. You should be writing a book. I was having better sex than 99% of the people that I knew. I was multi-orgasmic. I was having a good fucking time. And I was a recurring guest on Playboy Radio and giving sex tips out. And when I had this experience, it blew my mind because I realized I had merely been scratching the surface of what was possible for me to experience. It was like the tip of the iceberg, and there was so much more that I could experience. And that's why I'm so passionate about sharing this. And the second day, I was with that lover the first night, and the next morning he says, "Would you like to come back again tonight? Because I had errands to go run." I was like, "Man, is that a question? I'm here for this. I'll be back."
Yeah.
And I kind of was thinking maybe it was a fluke, like, okay, like that was great, and then again, another 5 hours of amazing experiences. And at the end of the night, I sat up in the bed, and it seemed like, though, my friend was like, "Oh my gosh, you always liked sex for a long time." Like, girl, I would not like that. I said, it was so amazing. Like, time flies when you're having fun. It really literally felt like maybe less than an hour passed by because we were so immersed in the experience. We were lost within it. And that second night, I just sat up in the bed, and I'm a jealous Scorpio. I don't like to share my favorite toys. I'm not as jealous now, but back then I really was. And I sat up in the bed and I looked him in the eye, and I said, "I just want to clone you and give one of you to all my friends." And it legit was breaking my heart to know, like, I don't even know how to begin to tell my friends how to do this. And how many women are never going to have this experience in their whole lifetime. And even share with me, because I feel bad that I know my dad will never provide this for my mom. I feel for her. And men too, for men to not understand the power that you really hold, because you're being dumbed down by watching porn. It's keeping you from your full possibility of what you can really be for yourself and for your partner. And you can literally lead the way. In Tantra, the pussy or the vagina is referred to as the yoni, which means sacred space, Y-O-N-I. The penis in Tantra is referred to as the lingam, L-I-N-G-H-A-M, which means wand of light, which is pretty fucking dope when you think about it. And whenever you're with someone in these practices, it's an honoring and a worshiping of one another and seeing the God, the divine in them, and they see that in you. And of the hundreds of people that I have been with, I have only had 2 lovers that fully have this mastery. Only 2.
Wow.
And that's why I'm
That's
really
pretty low.
passionate about letting men know, because you don't know. I mean, if you don't know it's possible, you're not going to try to get there, right? So I'm just like, really, I have a lot of love for men, because even when I first was going to get my first certification, they were like, "Well, we don't want you to work with men because men are going to try to hit on you." Because, people think Tantra coaches be doing things with their clients. We don't. It's not ethical. We're not ever supposed to date our clients or be intimate with them like that. And they're like, "Men are going to try to hit on you, this and that." I said, "I know how to hold my boundaries. I'm good with it." I said, "How can I leave the men behind. Because one, if it wasn't for a man, I would have never had this experience. I would have stayed lost. I wouldn't have woke the fuck up. And if I don't share with men how to do this, who are the women going to be with? Why would I just teach women? Because if men don't know. And one of my clients, though, he did have ED. He was in his 60s. He could not make love to his wife of 30 years. I started coaching him. Within a few weeks, their sex life started to improve. I taught him how to have the non-ejaculatory orgasms. And after about 6 months, he says, before work, on Monday before work, I had an hour-long session with my wife. She had 6 to 8 orgasms. I was ready to go again the next day. He goes, I feel so much power in my penis. I wish I discovered this 15 years ago. My wife was joking that now she needs to go work with you so she can keep up with me. He goes, now I'm having morning erections again. And he hadn't done that for a long time. And so whenever I work with men now, even if they're younger, like this is going to help you throughout your lifetime. You're going to have the benefits, so you don't have to worry about that. He says, I can't believe that my wife and I, they've been married 30 years, right? They're like, we're literally having better sex in our 60s than our 30s. I always get messages from them on the holidays and everything, wishing me happy holidays, saying, oh, my wife is so blissed out. We're so thankful for you. And it changed him a lot. He says, I'm a new person to myself and I'm a new partner to my wife. And he said his anger issues dissipated, which I used to be a very angry person from my childhood traumas before Tantra, and my anger issues dissipated too. So there's a lot of deep healing you can have through this.
Huh. Yeah. I'm really intrigued by this, to be honest, because I feel like me as a man, like I know a lot, but there's more I'm open to learn about for sure. Absolutely. So I'm really intrigued.
Yeah, and that's so great. That's beautiful that you're open to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, we don't know what we don't know. We can't fault anyone. I'm not here to fault any men for already not knowing how to do this, because if you just don't know what's possible, how would you know? It's been hidden.
Yeah, it has. That is pretty fascinating for real. Because like I said before, porn has gave us a distorted view on how sex works. And we think by just ramming it in, that's just how the way you're supposed to do it. And it's no. And as I get older, I'm all about connection. Like I want to have like real good conversation, and also just having that vibe. You know what I mean? And
yes,
that's very important to me.
Yes, that's beautiful. And one of my girlfriends was sharing with me that she was and I was just thinking about it today as I was getting ready earlier. So it's interesting you're bringing up in the conversation. She goes, I was with this guy and literally I was in so much pain. I stayed a few days with him. We hooked up, and she was out of town, like where he was living. And she was just like, I was having so much pain, and I was even telling him it was hurting me. And it's just like something that the guy, it's like the song, like beat the pussy up. You know what I mean? Like men think, oh, I'm putting in the work. I'm doing a lot if they're really sore. When I had made love with this man for 5 hours, I was not sore the next day. 5 hours, everyone. I was not sore. I was blissed the fuck out. I was in a whole other vibration. I was in like this amazing ecstatic state and really friggin' tapped into myself. I wasn't feeling raw or numb or pain. That's not what we should be feeling. But that's what these videos and these things show us. And this is the language in our music and things like that is having us believe this.
So let me ask you this.
And they're keeping you from your power by having you think that shit is powerful, because that shit ain't shit.
No. Let me ask you this then. So does dick size matter to you, or it doesn't?
When I was in my ego, it was more important to me. Because I was drinking the Kool-Aid and I was believing. I mean, micro penis is really challenging. You know what I'm saying? Micro penis is challenging if it's micro, for sure. But there's still a lot of pleasure you can have, because I know that I have been with people that have been like really big on size and girth, and I didn't have as enjoyable of a time with them because I'm having to be too careful. I can't even really go into the throes of passion, because then it will hurt, So I'm having to be too like paying attention. I can't really lose myself in the moment and fully relax. And I've noticed too that some of the men that I've had really amazing sex with are like average or a little below average on size. And I feel like where the women's G spot is like an inch and a half to 2 inches, like inside the vaginal canal. So I think that like, imagine like the vagina, like I feel like imagine the point of intensity of the thrust. If you don't have as
Mhm.
long of a dick, you're going to probably the head of your dick is going to be sometimes hitting point of maximum intensity right at that G spot. It's just going to feel a lot better, right? And then a lot of times if you're really long, you're sliding way past that and you're just kind of hitting the cervix, which there's some spots of the cervix that can be a lot of pleasurable, but the woman has to really know how to relax. It can be really uncomfortable.
Mm.
And so there's been men that I've been with that are like average to a little below average that I've had amazing experiences with because they're actually hitting all the spots. And then if they're really connected and they're honoring me and they have intimacy and they have good oral skills and they know how to be a really good lover and they're tuned into me, that is way better than someone is just like, oh, I just have, I'm well at some, because some men that are just have the great dimensions, they lack the skills or they lack the oral skills or they lack the patience to take, to even take their time, because you need to take some more time and get a woman more ready for something like that. You know what I'm saying? But they
Yeah.
almost think like that's all they need to bring to the table is that, like, boom, here's Mark. This is what I bring to the table, right? You got to have more than that. And, there's
Yeah.
things like that you can't quantify or you can't measure that really add a lot. So to me, and I even did a video on this, it's really not so much the size that matters. It's the length of time can you be present with a woman? How long can you last? How long can you really fully be there and connected to this person and really be tuned into their body and be aware? It's almost like a dance with your energy, and you can have have this beautiful dance with one another, and it can just be a flow where it's great to communicate with your lover what you need and what you want, but then you almost get tapped into where you don't almost have telepathy. Like you don't really need to say anything. Your energy, you're understanding their body language, you're tapping into their energy, and you're both just flowing, and it's just the most amazing thing you could ever experience. And when you're able to do that and you can really connect and again, stop comparing yourself. Because even the person that I've been with that is like the crazy dimensions and, amazing girth and 8 inches long, he still talks about, we're friends to this day. He'll still talk about that he thinks he needs to get an implant because he's been watching too much porn.
Woo.
And I'm just like,
Yeah.
that is crazy. And you know what? I mean, I don't know. Like that has not ever been my best experience. It was, do I like a challenge? You know what I'm saying? Like I was like, okay, let me see what all the
Ego.
hype is
Yeah.
about that. But
Right.
that's not been my best lover at all. Not by
Mm.
any means. That's why he's my friend.
Well, that's it's one of those things, right? Like you said, the movies kind of fucked us up because I even myself I had thought I was
Yeah.
inadequate, but then women told me like, no, you're more than good. I said, cool, and so yeah, I learned how
Listen
to
to
take my
women.
time
Listen to
and just.
women, not,
I do. I did.
yeah.
I definitely did
Yeah.
because
Listen to
I ask
women.
questions. Yeah, I ask questions. I want to know. Like I said, what can I do to make you get off or whatever? I want to know. Do I need to eat you out more, or do I need to use my fingers, or
Yeah.
what? I don't know.
Just communicating, right? That goes
Yeah,
so
exactly.
far. And then if you have them use a toy with you or whatever, like you can have amazing
Yeah,
experiences. And
absolutely.
it's like, what is the length when you want to think about length? What is the length of time you can be present with her? What's the length of time you can have intimacy, right? How long can you be last and pace yourself? Use toys, use whatever, and just be there and really have her have it longer states of pleasure. And what is the depth of connection you can have with her? But we get thinking about length and depth as far as like this numbers game, but that's really not what measures up. And I will
Right.
share that whenever I was with this man, my first tantric lover, I women are really intuitive. So there's times that I would be with other lovers And I could tell that if I really was going out, like I could be just having amazing orgasms, that my level of pleasure was going to push them to the point of no return and it would be game over and we would be done. So I would have to pace myself and hold my pleasure back like the reins of the horse and be like, whoa, 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 and hold back so I don't push the guy over the edge. Okay. When I was with this man, I did not know he was skilled with Tantra, but I was reading him. And when I would be on top of him, he was just honoring me like the goddess and allowing me just to continue to orgasm and orgasm. He was just like holding space for me and honoring me. And I was looking at his body language and I was like, every orgasm I'm having, he's like unshakable. Mind you, he had done these practices for a long time. So everyone, don't think you're just going to listen to this and you should be able to do it. Don't, it's just like putting your reps in the gym. You don't just go to a trainer once and then you come out with 6-pack of abs. You got to put the reps in and learn. It's a skill. It's the highest level of peak performance and self-mastery for men. It takes time because you've been learning having one experience in your body for a long time. But I was watching him and I was like, wow, this guy, I am totally like, he's not shakeable. He hadn't told me he had mastered Tantra, but I could tell like what I was doing wasn't phasing him. I was like, whoa, and we're not on any substance or anything. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I don't have to hold myself back. It was the first time I realized how much I had really held back my pleasure in the past. I was like, wow, I get to just really go full out here. Like I can really just fully unleash my pleasure and not worry that I'm going to make us have to stop. Like he's going to be able to keep up with me. I was like, whoa, this is fun. So then I just let go and surrendered. And like my pleasure just kept ramping up and ramping up and ramping up. So I had these prolonged states of ecstatic bliss over a period of time that's when I had my soulgasm. That's when I had like this amazing, what they call in Tantra, Kundalini awakening, where the energy from the base of my chakras spiraled all the way up to the top through my crown. Was I trying to get woke? I wasn't. Even he told me at first you're going to be pissed when you realize how you've been living in the world and how society has been. And you can't unsee. Once you see your truth, you can't unsee it. You can't go back and put the wool over your eyes. Like, it is what it is. And parts of it are not going to be fun for you, right? I wasn't trying to have that experience. Am I thankful I had that experience? Completely changed my life path, improved my relationships with my friends, my coworkers, my colleagues, my family, healed my relationship with my daughters, still on that healing journey with them because I had passed down traumas that were passed down to me. I'm forever radically changed as a person. Like, if anyone would have met me a decade ago, even if someone met me 5 years ago, I continue to be on a growth journey and I completely shift. But who I was over a decade ago to the person I am today is a radically different person. I handle life, I go through life so differently. And I'm forever grateful that literally saved my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amen. Well, so I'm kind of going to the squirting thing now because I'm curious about this situation.
Yeah.
So you've been squirting for a long time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like for years. So what was the experience like when you first done it?
When you first do it, it feels like, I literally thought I had peed myself. I was like, what in the world? Like all this liquid just pouring down my thighs. And I just remember doing the thing, like I'm wiping my thighs and doing the smell check real quick. Like, oh my God, like how embarrassing. Did I pee myself? And I'm like, no, it doesn't smell like pee. And it was just really interesting the way it happens. And usually the way it happens is it feels so much like it feels like you're going to pee as well. It puts a lot of pressure and you get this sensation. For women, we'll get that sensation like we are about to pee ourselves. So then a lot of women will hold back having the G-spot orgasm because we're trained from a very young age to not wet the bed. You got to think about that. Like even when I would work in the hospital as a nurse and I would be in recovery and taking care of people after anesthesia, I would have grown-ass men, if they would have a urinary catheter in, it puts pressure on that sphincter like you need to pee, and their brain is still under anesthesia, and they've forgotten that they just had this surgery, and they don't know they have a catheter there, and they'll literally be fighting. It's like fighting a big drunk dude, and they're just like, and they're wanting to get out of the gurney. They can't walk. They'll literally fall on their faces and hurt themselves, and they want to go to the bathroom. And it's that literally that fear that we have from such a young age of like, how humiliating, I don't want to pee myself. And so it's so ingrained in us. So then we're having sex and you feel that, we fight it and we like clench up. And that tension for women, if we have a lot of tension in our body, it holds back orgasms. Men, if you hold a lot of tension in your body, it'll make you orgasm more quickly. So that's how that squirting would feel. It would feel like a lot of pressure and then just like a gush of fluid. And there's nothing that I've noticed that I could do like to make that happen. That really has to come more from surrender. And in Tantra, when I talk about the heart chakra, most people have their heart chakras blocked. And the heart chakra connects the upper three chakras, your throat, third eye, crown, to your lower three chakras, your root, your solar plexus, your sacral, your solar plexus. Most people, we have a block in our heart chakra from childhood wounds, past relationship hurts, and we're guarded and we have a lot of armor here. So the energy that instead of flowing all the way up from our root, all the way to the top of our head, it's like a kink in the water hose and the energy doesn't fully flow. Our heart chakra also connects us with the world around us. I was very guarded and armored up and very much in my masculine energy from childhood wounds and traumas. Okay. I was operating like Samantha on Sex and the City. So a lot of us, the energy, our sexual energy is like a hamster wheel in the bottom three chakras. And so for me, before Tantra, I would almost be like a dude, like DTF. And I would feel like a lot of the buildup of the pleasure, the turn on in my body and my pelvic area. And I just would like an itch you want to scratch. I would want to just hook up or whatever to release that. Right. And that's what most of society is doing. We're either watching porn or hooking up with someone. We're just on a hamster wheel and we're constantly letting the energy surge up from the first to the second to the third chakra. And we never get past that. Then we like have a fix, an orgasm, boom, we drop back down. But whenever this heart chakra opened, then my energy would flow all the way through. And then my third eye, my intuition, my crown chakra with my discernment got online. And then I had more self-awareness and I realized, okay, everything that looks good for me isn't good for me. And I would just have discernment, like, should I really be messing with this person? Is that really what I need to do? Or is this my ego talking? Like, where is this coming from? And the thing is, when our heart chakra is open, like if we feel safe with a man and we can open our hearts fully, that's when the yoni opens fully. So for women to have G-spot orgasms, the real thing here is for their heart to feel really safe to open and for them to feel safe enough to fully surrender. And when you can fully surrender and feel like you're in a safe space, that's when your G-spot orgasms are going to flow. So a man can be trying to do all the technical things he can, but if he's trying to make the woman have a G-spot orgasm, and if it's coming from performative and performance and like, I need to make her do this and it's going to validate something about me and I'm trying to do that, it just puts more pressure on the woman and it creates more resistance and then it's harder for it to happen because it's surrender. And if women have had a lot of trauma in the past, if we're like hyper vigilant, especially one thing that can be a sign of childhood trauma that I have is a startle reflex. Like someone can come in the room and I can jump and startle real easy. And that can be from childhood traumas as well. But if you're constantly scanning for safety, you may be hyper vigilant and constantly surrounding a lot of empaths, a lot of people that are really tuned in and can read people. We've learned, this is how I learned to do that. So I would stay safe and know, like, was my drunk mother about to go off or what was going on in the home? Is this about to be a dangerous situation? Is shit going to hit the fan? What's happening? So I always had to be able to read a room. So if you're constantly do that, you might not know you're doing it. I wasn't aware either. Constantly scanning for safety, hypervigilant, constantly scanning for safety. A woman cannot be scanning for safety and be orgasmic at the same time. Those things do not operate in the same space. So a woman has got to feel safe and relax. Now, sometimes if women don't truly feel safe with the dude or feel safe in their bodies, they'll drink or do other things to make themselves relax. Because sober them is going to be too hypervigilant and they won't be able to get there. So our past traumas can really impact our ability to have pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. That is so true. So do you squirt every single time when you have sex or no?
No, no,
No. Okay. Okay.
no. Like
Does
it's
it take a lot?
interesting. It's not something that you can really make happen. It really is a lot with the energy and how I'm like, how my body is feeling, how safe I'm really feeling with that lover. And honestly, guys that have, sometimes guys will, their penis will have a certain curve to it that really can hit that spot easy. Or guys, usually guys that are maybe more like 5 inches or not have that much of a length, they can really end up hitting that spot in a different way. It's almost like the point of maximum impact, the way they're thrusting based on how their anatomy is designed compared and how my anatomy is shaped, that they just continue to hit that spot and I can have a much better orgasm. I mean, guys would think like, oh, it's just the equipment and I need to be really big and I need this and that, and that's not true.
Right. So how important is oral to you overall? Is it super important?
It's really important. It's really
What about
important.
you?
You know,
What about you
I
as the
enjoy
giver? Do you like?
giving it. Yeah, I mean, to me, I can even have, and with Tantra, you learn how to have energy orgasms. Like I could lay, my first lover that I had my soulgasm with, I could lay next to him and I could literally have an orgasm without him touching me. Now, later in the relationship, when I decided that we shouldn't be dating anymore, then I stopped doing that. And he was like, why aren't you doing that anymore? It kind of hurt his feelings, but it was me starting to not feel like my body, because I wanted to stay, of course, because I had amazing sex with him, but there were certain aspects of it that I was like, I don't know if this is fully serving me. And so I need to maybe move on. And so my body was responding that way and was like starting to not be as receptive to him. But whenever I give oral, I've been able, even before Tantra, just like this lover had said, you're like naturally Tantra without knowing what it is. I've many times I've just given my lover an oral sex and he's not even touching me at all. Cause I don't know, for me, I really like to fully be in the moment. I don't always like to do 69 because I like really just want to focus on what I'm doing and enjoy that. And I've been able to have energy orgasms or have orgasms just while I'm giving oral sex. So,
I read about that. That's interesting. I was wondering how they work. That's wow,
yeah, I've
intriguing.
actually even had, was on a clubhouse room with a friend of mine that's a shaman. And, with his, he asked for consent first, but he knew whenever he would have rooms in the clubhouse, like hundreds of people would tune in or 1,000 people would go into the room. He's really well known. And we're friends. We know one another. And he was just, because he knows the work that I do and the work and the world and the mission I have on my heart. So he was just trying to help people understand like what I'm doing. And he said, is it okay if he was like guiding me on something with my ancestors and stuff. And then he was like, is it okay if I give you, like, if I stimulate? And he's like, we're on Clubhouse app. He could have even been in another country while we're talking. We're definitely in different states.
Mm.
And he's like, I'm going to stimulate with your consent, I'm going to stimulate like your G spot and stuff while we're talking. And I was like, okay, go for it. And he starts like directing his energy to me. And I literally started having an energy orgasm. And the guy that I was dating at the time, he was in my bedroom. I was on my couch. And I was like, I'm going to be on Clubhouse for a while. He comes out and I could
Jesus.
feel like my eyes were closed and I could feel like someone sitting at the end of my couch. I knew he was there watching me, but I was like, I'm just going to stay in this moment. And he can't hear. I had my earbuds in. He couldn't hear what the person was saying to me. But all of a sudden I go into I start having an orgasm, legit. And he was just like, what just happened? I was like, oh, we're doing this thing and showing people how energy orgasms can happen. He was like, what? It was really funny,
Wow.
but like it can really happen. And I've guided my clients on that. I had a client that was in his 70s and his sexual energy was really shut down. And so much so I was like, dude, you need to watch porn or something because you're like flatlined on your sexual energy. And he had been
Damn.
celibate for so
Okay.
long. Yeah. And I was
Wow.
like, dude, you need something because you're so disconnected from your turn on. And he was more like wanting to do everything for enlightenment and spiritual things. And sometimes we can really use these ways we can be enlightened, but we do it as a way to escape our bodies and not be fully rooted in our bodies. And our soul came here to be in this existence in our bodies. You know what I mean? We don't need to always be, but especially if we've had sexual traumas before, things like that, people will be more in the astral plane and astral projecting or out here instead of being fully rooted in their bodies because they haven't always felt safe in their bodies from childhood things. So there's a lot of reasons for that. So I was going to guide him on this thing on a meditation, a tantric meditation, open up his heart chakra. And he's on the couch. He's fully dressed. And we're both fully dressed, and we're doing the Zoom. And as I'm guiding him on the breath work, and he's been doing all these practices that I've been teaching him in between sessions. And as I'm starting to guide him with the breathing, I could tell the way his body was moving. He was having what they call these little kriyas. It's like Kriya. He was having these like little shakes in his body. I was like, oh, he's moving like some energy, like he's about to have like a Kundalini experience. And so I was like, okay, forget this meditation. I'm just going to keep guiding his breathing and guiding that energy to come up. And the next thing you know, he's literally on the couch and his head is thrown back. And I told him to keep his head straight though, because your neck, like you want that energy, you want it to be in a straight line. But he started having like full body orgasms without even touching himself, just by me guiding him and guiding him with his breathing and how to open up those channels in his body.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh. It took a lot of practice.
It's really powerful stuff. It's really dope. Huh?
I said, I'm sure it took a lot of practice for him.
Yeah, and it was,
at his age.
He was about to give up working with me, actually, because I was just like, I think he was going to do it for only, because sometimes it usually to have non-ejaculatory orgasms takes 6 months. And it was right before the end of 3 months. And he was like, he was about to give up. And I was like, man, I should have just made you sign up for 6 months because it's that thing where sometimes we almost give up on something right when we're about to have a breakthrough. And then it was just meant to happen for him. It happened. And then he was like, oh my God, I've never experienced anything like this before. I'm definitely doing another 3 months with you. And that's not where I guided that experience. It was really cute. But then what was interesting is I was in the Bay Area at the time. And I was sitting with my legs crossed, and it gets really cold in the Bay Area. I get cold easy. And like literally when he was doing that, I didn't tell him until later, like to a few sessions later. I'll let him process that. But my hands started getting sweaty. My palms started getting sweaty. And I'm not sexually attracted to him in any way. But my legs were like crossed and my thighs started trembling. And like almost like whenever I'm about to have an orgasm and like women, like your body will start to tremble. It was like, even though, and I know like I've been in rooms when I've been studying with other students with Tantra and with women, I've been in a group of women and we can start doing breath work together and we can all start orgasming together without touching one another. I've experienced that. And I've been told by my teachers like, oh, energy is through everything and you can do it through distance, whatever. But it was my first time to experience that, like with a client. I was like, wow, that is wild, because I could feel like his energy. And then it started like moving my energy through me, because we mirror each other a lot too. We have a lot of mirror neurons as well. It was really interesting. I was like, whoa, that's dope. But I didn't want to take from his experience, but later I shared it with him in an appropriate time. I was like, I just want you to know how powerful that was. That like I was feeling different sensations in my body as you were going through that experience. But then I can be with my clients too. And I am very, I'm not sure. Have you heard of human design?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So in human design, I'm a reflector, and less than 1% of the population is a reflector. And I did not find out until years later, after my first tantric experience, that my first tantric lover, he didn't know at the time either, but we found out years later that we're both reflectors. And so reflectors were like the mirrors for people. Everyone else has like an energy center or like the sun centers based on their human design that radiate energy out. All my centers are like a moon. I have no charged up sun centers, and I like reflect off the sun. So I'm a great mirror for someone to reflect things back to. So I do a lot of intuitive things with my coaching, also on board on Halloween. So I reflect a lot what's going on. So I can be working with a client or be in a session and they can feel pain in their body, and I'll check in with them about it because I'll be feeling pain in that area of my body as well. It's like it's like I think it's called clairsentience. And I'm also with my second tantric lover that I have this really beautiful connection with too. I've had like clairaudience with him where I've been able to hear what he's thinking at the same time I've texted him what the thoughts he was thinking. And I was able to hear it just like as if he was talking. It really tripped me out. But when you connect, like this is the thing, those two lovers I've had really wild connections with through the years. But when you know how to make love to someone's soul and you connect on, you vibe on that level, it's way different than whenever you're what usually experiencing having sex with someone. You can intuit. Like my second lover, I usually will meditate in the morning. One night I was meditating and he texted me and he was like, I can see you meditating right now. Like you get really tapped in with that person. It's really dope. Like Tantra creates soulmate relationships. That's why if people are about to have a divorce or if they're in a dysfunctional relationship, I really won't want to coach them if it's not a healthy relationship, because it will bind you two more together. And if it's toxic combination, I'm not trying to be in support of that, because it can create a soulmate relationship for sure.
Yeah, you don't need that. No, that's interesting because like I really want to know more about this stuff for real. Like I just want to improve as a man because I feel like it's very important.
I love that.
And
it is
the
so
stuff
important.
you sharing, it had me intrigued. It really does. I'm like, wow, like this is pretty cool.
I love that. I appreciate your openness and your receptivity to something new and to have this conversation, to share it with your listeners. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here today and to share with all of you. It's definitely an honor, and this literally changed my life. It changed who I am to the core of who I am. It really, and it's almost like when like I work with my clients, I feel like Michelangelo in the statue of David, in the being that they would say, like they asked Michelangelo, like, what did you do to create statue of David? Because it just came from this big, like, rock. Like, how did you make that into the statue of David? And he's just like, I just chipped away all the parts that weren't David. And then what remained was David, this masterpiece. And that's how I feel when I work with my clients. There's nothing wrong. You're already whole and complete. Let's chip away the limiting beliefs, the baggage that's been dropped on you, the programming by society, by your parents. Let's strip away all the layers that haven't been serving you and reveal who you truly are, because you're so powerful. So this experience allowed me to let go of the things that have been weighing me down and holding me back and really get into my truth and my true essence of who I am. And so at the end of the day, we're all just, I believe as Ram Dass would say, we're all just trying to walk each other back home. So I'm just trying to be an invitation for people to let go of shame, because it's the lowest vibration. It's impacting how you live in this reality and how your body is experiencing itself. It can create disease in your body as well. It's because it's the lowest vibration. It's lower than hate or fear. And that's why there's so much shame. We start experiencing shame as early as 15 months old. And so I'm just here to remind everyone how amazing they are. And, love, if we have more love in our world and less hate, and we start to see how much we are connected and how much more similar we are, then, the world could be such a much better place. That'd be like heaven on earth.
Yeah. Do you think the reason we don't have that much love because people, I guess, are afraid to be vulnerable? You think that's what it is?
Oh, yeah. And I was so afraid. I felt like before Tantra, I thought my vulnerability and my feminine energy were weakness. And I realized they're my superpowers.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
So that fear of vulnerability is holding us back.
Yeah. Well, I embrace the shit. I'm like, you know what? Whatever. I'll be open as possible. Like I said, when I let a woman peg me, no. But I do everything else for sure.
That's okay. We get to have boundaries, right? We get to have boundaries. Yes. It's choice. No one should ever feel forced to do that. I've never pegged a man. I haven't even experienced that. People would think that I would have, but haven't.
I thought you did. I thought you did for real. Seriously.
Really? So a lot of people would think that. Yeah.
Huh. Wow. So you have around people before, right? You done that, right? Because a lot of people do these days.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That's an amazing experience. There's so many nerve endings there too. You can have such amazing sensation.
Mm-hmm. Like, have you done it to somebody? Well, I know somebody done it to you, but have you done it to somebody?
Yeah.
Okay.
Give
So
and
do you
receive.
like doing do you
Yeah,
like
I
doing it
enjoy
that
it.
way?
I enjoy it. I'm only
Okay.
going to do it with someone that I'm like really into that person. That's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
something
yeah.
you just do with just anyone. But yeah,
No, no, no.
there's been a few people that I've been with that I do that with, and it's been a whole lot of fun, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
I mean, as long as
people have to
people are
really
open.
trust you. I mean, that's really definitely really intimate.
It
And
is.
you
I agree
also
with
need to
that.
be aware of things too, because there's a lot of different things that can be transmitted that way too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I'm a very hygienic man. Okay. Oh yeah, I don't play around at all.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
So
I
it's
I
so
think it's, I
important.
don't know. Yeah, it's very important, and I don't know. I think the women I have been involved with, they've been so open to different things. So I like, well, I said, why not? I try it. Why not? You know, if you want to do it, cool. You want to lick my toes,
Yeah.
that's fine. Go ahead and do it. The toes don't do nothing for me, but I'm like, whatever. That's what you do. You know, whatever. That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't really do
But
that much for me. Toes don't do that much more for me either. But
no, not at
yeah, everyone
all.
has
I mean,
their
some people
thing.
like it. Yeah, I mean, I don't judge. I'm like, that's whatever. Whatever floats your boat. That's fine. That's cool. Yeah. Yeah, so because I think I wish there'd be more people that would not shame others for liking sex because
No,
like I said, I
you
like kinky
was
sex.
it. Yeah, don't yuck someone's yay. If it's something that they're enjoying and they're not harming you by doing or harming anyone by doing it, it's two consensual
Right.
adults. Let them do what they want to do.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. And you're not
Wow.
going to know
This has
unless you try something.
right. Exactly.
But it
I
always
mean, I
should be
can't
a
even
full
lie.
yes. Like if you don't know if you want to do something,
Mhm.
if you're ever like it's kind of a maybe, keep it as a no. You need to be a full body fuck yes to have your consent as a yes. Don't be
Absolutely.
pressured or because you really like someone or you're afraid of what they think. It's really important that you have that boundary for yourself.
Right.
But by all
So
means,
how
if you
how
want to,
how
or then
important
say a compromise, you know,
how
go
important is
ahead.
diet for you when it comes to dealing with men? How important is it?
It's really important because, you know, when men eat a lot of meat, it impacts their erections because it takes so much longer to digest meat. So then your body is a lot of your blood flow is being shunted away from your sex organs to your digestive tract. And especially in a society where we've been told like we should eat meat 3 times a day. I mean, come on, I grew up in Texas. I was raised on my baby food was steak. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
when you're having meat 3 times a day, it's impacting your girth and your length because you're getting less blood flow. And
Mm.
you know, if I'm going to be taking in someone's bodily fluids or having them in my most intimate spaces, like it can throw off my pH and things as well if they don't eat healthy. So I
Right.
want to know, and how you eat also shows me the level of self care you have. Now, when I was with my first tantric lover, I ate like trash. I would eat the fast food. I would eat McDonald's, you know, and he was very aware and self aware and tuned in, and he would eat really healthy and stuff. He even has gone to like he hung out with Dr. Sebi. I don't know if you don't know who Dr. Sebi is, but
Yeah, yeah, he
he's
passed away a
was
while back. Yeah.
and he
Mhm.
goes to like Dr. Sebi's retreat place in the Honduras and stuff. And so he was really tapped in about
Wow.
healthy stuff. And so I would be offering him these things. He's like, no, that's okay. I don't want to do that. That's all right. You know, he wouldn't be judgy of me. But
Yeah.
he did start to talk to me about nutrition. And then I realized I was like, wow, okay. I need to really be more aware of how this is impacting my body, how it's impacting
Mhm.
and you know, how we feed ourselves. And if we're aware of what we consume, how we're nourishing our bodies, what we're taking
Mhm.
in is so important. And if we're always taking in, you know, if we're not taking in fruits and vegetables that get their energy from the sun, I mean, we're getting more energy through that. So now I don't drink sodas anymore. I mainly only drink water.
Amazing.
I just
Yep.
recently, because I saw that for my blood type, I can have coffee. So now I have 1 cup of coffee in the morning. I used to, as a nurse, drink like a pot of coffee a day. I'll have 1 cup of coffee
Okay.
in the morning, but I drink, you know, Danger Coffee by Dave Asprey that has minerals in it and is checked for mold toxins. Like everything that I do is going to be organic, non-GMO. Now I'm thinking I should get my breast implants out because I'm like, well, these bitches aren't non-GMO. What was I thinking? But I made that decision before I was ever aware about what I should be putting into my body, you know?
Right, right.
So you
Yeah.
you got to think about it because it's going to change your pH and change how you taste as well.
Oh,
Um,
I agree with that 100%. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yes, indeed. Hmm.
yeah.
Sorry, go
So
ahead.
just being aware of that, and then if I'm with someone, I just want to know like, what is their self love game like? How do they speak to people that they may feel like is less than them? Like, do they road rage? Are they going to be disrespectful to other people? How do they treat people when they're not trying to get something from them or not trying to get in bed with them, etc.? Like, how do they really treat people? And would I want to be like that person? Used to, I was all about looks, and I learned that from my mom. My mom never asked me the quality of the man I would date, just like if they were good looking or if they had money, which really set me up for some horrible dating experiences. That did not
I'm
serve
sure.
me, but that's how I was
Mm-hmm.
raised. And so now I just really look at things differently. So now I'm like, if I'm going to be with someone, because I can't put a body condom on someone. I'm about to have a YouTube video coming out, I think on Monday, about sacred energy exchange. That's what sex is, and you're taking in that person's energy into your most intimate spaces. That's why sometimes after sex you can feel like you're in a funk and you don't know why, but it's like the next day you feel blah or off. But maybe that person has some unresolved emotional things or is suffering through some things they're not being open about, or maybe they road rage or they're angry at someone before they're around you, and that's still in their energetic field, and and you're taking that on whenever you're with them. You're having that energy exchange, and you can't put a used to as a nurse, I was like, as long as I know they're getting STD testing and we're using condoms and we're being safe, then I was like, wow, I can't put a body condom on someone and protect myself from their bad vibes. So
Mm-mm.
now I wait and I want to really get to know that person, see how do they respond to challenges? And would I want to be like that person? Are they someone that I would want to be like them? And so that's really been a game changer for me. It really slowed down my sex life and things quite a bit because majority of people are really unaware of themselves, or they're not doing their work. They're not getting therapy or getting a coach or facing off with their childhood wounds, because we all have some kind of childhood wounds. We don't escape childhood
Yes,
without some shit happening to us. And
absolutely.
we need to face
I
off with it
agree.
and stop pretending we're okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. That is so true. You are preaching tonight. Well, this afternoon. I mean, yo,
Yeah.
that is so true. Because I know me, I had to face the music with myself as well over the years. And when my mom had passed, I had to really just dig deep into my soul and work on some toxic stuff I had going on myself and admit that. You know what I mean? Like, even though it was hard to
Mm,
admit some things, but I had to be truthful to myself, and I did therapy as well. And then I got back into doing my fitness as well. And I started to eat healthier because that makes a difference, like you said before. It really does,
oh,
as
yeah.
far as energy and the way you feel. So yeah, no, I agree. Well, you're doing an incredible
Yeah.
job. Seriously, it was very informative,
Thank you.
big time, and you
Thank you.
really
I'm
got me
glad I could be
intrigued by this
helpful.
stuff. Yeah, like I am so
Yeah.
intrigued. I am.
That's amazing. Well,
Like,
I have a men's group program. I haven't done a men's group program before. I've coached women with manifestation, how to even manifest with pleasure, sex magic, things like that. And I
okay,
have a group program for women, but I haven't worked with men. And I have a program starting this August. And then I coach men one to one as well and women. So that's going to be happening soon. And then just anyone can find me through yestantra.com. And then I'm sure you'll share my links and stuff in this post. And
I
so,
will.
yeah. So if anyone would like to be guided by me, it would be an honor to guide you. And, a lot of what we learn in our society is teaching us that it's a outside in game, that we need to have the things outside of us, the trappings, quote unquote, of success, so that our inner world is happy. So our outer world, we need to get the house, the car, the marriage, the kids, the this, the job, the career, the education, the degree. And then things are going to be okay in here. Then we spend all this time accumulating all these things, and we realize that hasn't changed a lot in here. That's why even Jim Carrey says, I wish everyone could just have $1 million so they would realize that being a millionaire isn't going to be what makes them happy. So they would know that. And what it is really our outer world is a reflection of our inner world. It's an inside out game. So when we start changing our inner world and facing off with these things and creating harmony inside here, it's reflected in our outer world. That's when the things around us start changing. That's when we can have that level of success. If we want to grow to a certain level of success, do we even have the nervous system or the energetic body to hold everything we want to call in? And we have to have those resilience practices. We have to be really, able to hold all that and bring all that in. But it all starts here. It's an inside out game. So I love helping people let go of shame and fear and limiting beliefs and change this inner world so they can start having more control and this co-creation with their outer world and realize how powerful they are to create their realities. And stop being in survival mode and victim like I used to be, and be it where you're thriving and you're co-creating with the universe, with source, for the higher spirit that you believe in.
So is most of your clients, are they a certain age, like young people, or it just varies?
It really varies. I have clients
Okay.
from their 20s, some early 20s, to probably
Really?
usually 30s and 40s, and then even up into the 60s and 70s. So it's really such a range. I work with men and women. And what's really beautiful is I'm focusing more on men right now. Not that I don't love working with women, but that's just what I have been focusing on lately with some of my offerings. And even if I work with one person, when it's a couple, the relationship starts to change because you're in a relationship, your partner's just a mirror, and is a mirror reflecting back to you the relationship you have with yourself. And it's not to say one person should be solely responsible for the relationship, but even if I start to change things within myself, that's going to be reflected back within my relationship with my partner. And it will have a positive change in our relationship as well. So when I just start working with one person, the relationship starts to shift. And that's really beautiful. The dynamic starts to change. And we think that we're in relationship with our partner's looks, or, oh, they're this sign, or I like this feature about them, or they're really tall, or we have the same hobbies, but you're really in relationship with your partner's nervous system. I learned this a lot when I was in Elementum becoming a trauma informed coach. And when we can know how to regulate our nervous systems and our partners know how to regulate their nervous systems, and we can co-regulate our nervous systems together, we'll have more harmony in our relationships. Because that's where we have a lot of conflicts and everything happening, because one of us gets dysregulated and then things can spiral more out of control if we don't know how to calm and get down into center and let our logical minds come into play so we can have that clarity to face those challenges together. So just regulating your
Amazing.
nervous system, one, makes women feel a lot safer in the bedroom when the man's regulated in his nervous system, because you're leading the way. And it helps the relationship to thrive as well, but it'll have the women desiring the men more. So just doing that kind of work is really amazing to improve romance.
So do you prefer a man to lead?
I mean, it can be, some women have different preferences, but I think it's really beautiful when men can lead, the masculine, the feminine, when we can surrender, is really a beautiful thing. Now you can do a dance and it doesn't have to be like, even if it's a same sex relationship, one can be in their masculine energy and one can be in their feminine energy. And you can take turns with that, and you can have like this beautiful dance within your energetics, even within one time of lovemaking with someone. It's just like a dance. One can be taking the lead, the other can be following, and vice versa. But I think that it's really powerful, like when women can really rest into their feminine and relax and feel like they feel so safe with the man and they trust them to take the lead, and you can fully relax. And the more a woman can surrender, the more orgasmic she will be. So if a man can create that safety and be like, I can hold you, I've got this, I've got you, you're safe here, you can relax, that's going to enhance the entire experience.
It makes sense. Wow. Damn, you really changed my mind about like for real. Like I'm so
I'm
open
so
to a lot
glad
of
to hear
these
that.
different things. Absolutely. Wow. Huh.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you for coming on the show. For real, I do. Like this has been really fun. I would have loved to do this in person though. Oh Lord, that would have been great. Been so dope.
Maybe in the
Maybe one
future we
day
could do a follow up for sure.
we could. We really could. I would love to do that in person. That'd be great. That'd be dope.
Yeah, that would be great.
So give out your social media handles for the
And my
people.
social media is just at yes, YES, and then Davita, DVITA on Instagram. And then on Facebook, on YouTube, it's at Yes Tantra, TANTRA. And my website is Yes Tantra, TANTRA.com. And I have courses, masterclass replays, and then you can even apply to have a complimentary 30-minute discovery call with me to explore working together, being coached by me, and then we can just dive in and see what your goals are, what your challenges are, and be honored to guide you and help you start to have a whole different experience in your body and in your life.
That's amazing. Wow. This has been really incredible. I know I keep saying that, but I really enjoyed it.
So
Like this is
glad.
a great topic.
Me too.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
has been
because
a fun
I feel
conversation.
it has because I feel like me, like I said before earlier, like I do know a lot. I read a lot of things. I had a lot of experiences, but it is more things I can learn. I know that for sure. I don't know everything.
I don't know everything either. I keep learning. I'm always learning. I'm forever the student.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we keep living, right? That's all we can do.
Yeah.
We
Keep
keep living, we keep
living,
learning.
growing, evolving.
Absolutely, and just keep being open. I was going to ask one more thing though before I let you go. So with women when they go through menopause and they lose their sex drive, how can they come out of that?
It depends. You would need to see with your doctor what's going on. I know for me, I recently experienced menopause and I just had hormone testing and then I got bioidentical hormone replacement. And that was so helpful for me. So that's definitely something I recommend. If with you and other things within your health, if you're a candidate for that, I would definitely recommend it because things do start to change with that. And women can start to have changes in their hormones even as early as their 30s, especially with being on the pill, with all of the chemicals and the toxins in our diets. So your
Mhm.
levels can start to drop at earlier ages than you're aware. So it's good to get tested in your 30s and 40s and see where you are as far as your levels.
So there's hope for older women, right? It's hope.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing being an older woman, actually.
Oh, I mean, no, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but it
From
does
my
it
experience,
does definitely it does definitely change things because then what will happen is even if you're turned on or aroused, the tissues there, the way the hormones start to change, our tissues get a little more like paper thin and more delicate and they can tear like little micro tears a lot easier and sex can be a lot more uncomfortable. And so then because of the
that's
discomfort, then
bad.
sometimes women will stop wanting to have sex. It's just like, or they're not having that lubrication, even if you're using lube, like you just don't have that, your other lubrication as much. So just changing and getting the bioidentical hormones or taking some types of supplements or seeing what would help to support where you're lower in certain hormone levels was your estrogen, your progesterone, your testosterone and getting those replaced. But not like a pill or pharmaceutical, getting something that's like I use like a cream that's compounded, like from a compounding pharmacy. They look at my labs and they make specialized, like special formula specific for me. So it's not like a one size fits all thing. And then that way I'm getting exactly the amounts that I need and I'm not getting stuff that I don't need. So I highly recommend
Okay.
that. Hmm.
Okay. Amazing. I was going to ask one
Yeah.
more, another thing too. I'm sorry.
Yes. Go
So,
ahead.
do you think being celibate can be detrimental to somebody's sex life?
I don't think I've actually been celibate for this past year.
Well, you go,
And
girl.
intention, yeah, I've done this a few times. I never
Uh,
did it before Tantra. I would just date. I would go from one relationship to the next relationship. I think a lot of people in our world do that. I would be like, it was when I was modeling and stuff in LA when I was younger. And I was just like, oh, like of course I'm in demand. Of course I'm going to have someone who wants to date me. But it was really that thing of like, a lot of people are really uncomfortable being by themselves. And I've had so much peace being by myself. and I'm just not open to drama anymore. I had a whole dramatic childhood. I just don't want to continue to perpetuate that. So for me, when I went through this program to work to become a trauma informed master coach, they're like, you're all the things with nervous system regulation, somatics, cognitive behavioral therapy, inner child healing. Man, there were so many things that they taught us. I can't even, it was just a really rigorous curriculum. They're like, you're going to go through these things because you can only meet your client's emotions as deeply as you met your own. And you need to be a clear container, not to say you're not going to be, that you're not human and that you expect to be perfect. But whenever your clients come to you and they're sharing their challenges or something triggering for them, you don't want to get triggered from your traumas and then not guide them, because then you get triggered and you start being reactive and you start giving them solutions based on your past traumas. So you need to work through your shit. And through this year, you're going to be coached by your peers and be doing sessions and stuff. And you're going to go through all the practices that we're teaching you to guide your clients. You get to go first. You're going to go through it. And man, well, I tell you, that was quite a year. And I was dating someone when I started that program. And I realized some of my childhood patterns I thought I had faced off with that were coming up in a different flavor. And I took a break from the relationship and I said, you know what? I really just want to go through this program and do all these things and really get more clarity about me and my part that I'm playing in this. And that way, when I'm dating again, I can be even more intentional and have an even healthier relationship. So that's what I've been doing. So now it's just been a point of, one, I was doing the program, and then now I'm just having a very intentional relationship of dating myself and caring for myself and really getting clear on what it is that I want and what my boundaries, what my values are, and what I'm definitely a no to. So I stopped entertaining some of the BS that I entertained in the past.
Right. Evolution. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty
But then,
profound.
pleasure is medicine. So still having my own self-pleasure tantric rituals, still connecting to my body, to my pleasure, and taking myself on dates, loving myself. And when I feel like I'm sourced and am not needy of someone, that's when you attract better opportunities. And I still have opportunities, but I'm just like, I'm good right now because I'm really focusing in on that. And I just went through like a lot of family loss a few months ago. And I've really
My
been there for my
condolences.
family a lot. Yes, a big crisis. And I was like, wow, that program really prepared me to be able to handle this level of this crisis that me and my family faced and my daughters faced. And for me to be able to build the relationships that I've had with them, because they had challenging relationships with me. I had my kids when I was really young. And so working on those things, because I'm like, those relationships are really important. How often would I need attention from a man to have my ego validated or something and not take the time I should have taken to make memories with my daughters who are always there for me? You know what I'm saying? So you just really get to
Absolutely.
prioritize like what matters to you. And then knowing, oh, I was the rescuer. My mom was an alcoholic. So I was always rescuing. I'm always caretaking for other people. Like, all right, I really need to be with someone moving forward that's at my equal. Because I think subconsciously I would still choose someone that wasn't quite at my level, in a way of, I always feel like I need them to depend on me some way, because I would have these codependent patterns from childhood. And I was bringing it into my dating unconsciously.
Mm.
So I've just really
So
been taking a long look at myself and being like, interesting. How can I
yeah,
make
yeah,
sure I
yeah.
don't repeat that again?
Right, right.
Yeah.
So do you feel like you healed from your trauma as a kid? Or you still have those
I've healed
issues
through a
deep
lot
down
of it. I
inside?
mean, the things are still there. We're never going to be perfectly healed and because we continue,
Nah.
life just keeps lifing and things can keep happening. Right. But yeah, I've had an amazing level of healing and stuff. Is there still things I need to work on and focus on? Of course. Like, no one is
Yeah.
perfect. When people present to you that they're perfect, be wary, because
Yes. Yes.
we've all had certain experiences, but like, are they self-aware? Do they know these things about themselves? And are they actively doing things to nurture that part of themselves and to create healing from that and not to go into negative patterns from that? Do they have
Absolutely.
tools that they use? Do they know how to resource themselves? Do they know how to regulate their nervous systems, right? Are they
Mhm.
accountable? Or are they going to always blame everything on you?
Yep, that's a
Yeah.
huge one. Yep.
And we do that
And
a
that's what I
lot. And I
done.
mean, part of why I'm single a lot too is like, what are the majority of relationships that are available out there? A lot of very low vibration relationships, a lot of
If you look,
relationships, and a lot of dysfunction. And I just don't
right,
have an interest in that. Been there, done that. Could write a book about it. You know what I mean? I've already experienced that. So I want to, if
you
I'm going to
should.
experience, my friends always share with me, I should write a book, and I probably will someday. But, if I want to experience something that is an elevated experience with someone, and that someone also, I don't want to be talking to a man and telling a man, oh, you should like be into growth and do your things and be aware. If they're not into that, like, it's not fair to them for me to have that expectation of them. I want someone who already is like, has that similar mindset and is passionate about the things that I'm passionate about and is always trying to grow and evolve. That's really what I'm looking for in someone, like, that's not intimidated by the way I want to show up in the world, but that celebrates the way I want to show up in the world. And it takes a special kind of man to be able to do that, because it takes a
Yeah.
special kind of man to understand that I talk and coach other men on their sexuality. Am I being inappropriate or anything with them? I'm not. But sometimes, fear of the unknown or them not knowing what that's like, it can be uncomfortable for them. But my passion and my
Yeah.
purpose for this is more important to me. Helping humanity is more important to me than some like mediocre relationship where I'm going to deal with drama and explaining myself to someone and they don't fucking get it. I don't have time for that. Energy is going to take away from where I'm here to serve in the world and what I'm here to do. Now, if I am with someone that I can amplify that and we have the same purpose and passion and we're elevating, like I have my coaches, Preston Smiles and Alexi Panos, they're a beautiful couple, and they've had challenges too, and they continue to level up together, and I celebrate them. I love seeing things like that, and that's a beautiful example of amazing couples in our world. So my other coaches, like Marla from the Intimacy Experts and her partner Julian, beautiful partnerships. I want something that's more like that. I don't want this stuff that most people have. I'm just not here for it. I don't know.
Well, on
That's
social
just
media,
me.
you see the
I know what I
videos,
want.
right? Well, on social media, you see a lot of videos, a lot of dysfunction going on that people are praising, a lot of
Yeah, there's a lot
bad
of,
information.
yeah, a lot of it is happening. And, this is the way we can start to change that, by letting people know that there's different things available. But if people want to stay stuck in those cycles and those patterns, like if that's
It's
how
on
you
them.
want to be, you do you, that's
Hmm.
fine. But I don't
Yeah,
really need
absolutely.
that. I don't need
Hmm.
that in my environment. Like my peace and my growth and my evolution and the amazing time that I have with myself and with my friends. Like I have so much joy with myself. I dance, I have my joy alarms, I'm doing things. I get to do my day however I want to do my day. Like I love my life. I can travel. Like I really do love my life. Now, if there was an amazing person that can complement that, great. But I think some people can be so afraid to be alone. And there's a lot of pressure on women. It was interesting because I happened to watch the Barbie movie earlier today. And if you do watch it, like anyone tuning in, you do watch it, it had some really good messaging in there. But there's a lot of pressure on women, like, especially people like, why are you single? Or you're so amazing. How could you be single? And it's almost as if they infer, like, there must be something wrong with you because, like, you got looks, you got this. Like, you must be fucked up on some level to be single. And there's a lot of pressure on women of like being chosen. And we get a lot of that programming from Disney stories, like the Cinderella, the Prince Charming coming to rescue us. Are we being chosen by someone? And to be single is like in the old movies is like to be a witch, which I think witches are great. I was born at Halloween, but to be alone and be the old woman in the woods is like a creepy thing to be. And I call BS on that. You know what I'm saying? And I think even back then, in the times where it's like, well, if they were burning witches at the stake, why don't we question who was burning the women at the stake? Those are the people that were the criminals. I think these were just women that were into their power, probably knew how to open up their chakras, understood their ability to manifest, understand their ability to co-create with the universe. And they were tapped in and independent, and they didn't want to be someone's property like what women were back in the day. And they were independent. And then because that made men uncomfortable, they got burned at the stake. It's kind of off topic, but that's how it's kind of been. So culturally, there's a lot of like, why do you want to be single? But really, like, based on what we see in relationships in most of the world, why would I want to be in a relationship?
Yeah, it's a lot of bullshit out there for real. I'm like, oh my god, I see some of these videos. I'm like, what? How do y'all listen to this stuff? Like this horrible information that these people are giving you guys. It's toxic as fuck. But people,
Yeah, for
I
sure.
don't know.
Watch what you
You got this
consume as far as
right,
food too, as far as media as
exactly
well.
right.
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
you have this gender wars going on. You got man versus woman that's going on. And I'm like, yo, I said, look, we need each other
We
at the
need
end of
each
the day. You know what I
other.
mean? Like we gotta get along. Okay, we might be different and whatever, but we gotta get along. It is what it is. And
Yeah,
I feel like to
the
me, go ahead.
uh-huh.
Sorry.
No, the gender wars, like I always say, like if we could, like if women could understand the challenges that men have, because men have a lot of challenges, like
Oh yeah.
not being able to connect with their emotions, being always feel like they have to be the protector or the provider, and not feeling like that they can cry. They're human, having a human experience. Can we show them some compassion? There's a lot of challenges that men can have, that men have. I don't want. I'd rather be a woman and be pregnant and have periods than deal with what men deal with. But so if we could understand and have a moment of understanding as women what challenges men have, as men what challenges do women have, as humans what challenges do even people that are transgender, whatever, what are they having? If we could just as humanity try to understand, even as racism and things like that, what are the challenges other people are having, and come together and help one another and have some compassion, instead of saying, but see, if the people in charge keep us fighting against ourselves and we separate, we're weakened. But if we would rise together as brothers and sisters, as humanity, and say, enough of this, we're not interested in this BS anymore, that's how we could create change. But if we're just tearing each other down all the time, we're not going to be able to build the world that we want to build, because
Yeah,
we're
I don't
just
think it would change.
self-destructing.
It won't change. I
You
don't
don't think
think.
what would change?
I don't think it would change because like trying to have everybody on one accord, I don't see that happening. I think some people may when they kind of have an awakening, but I don't see a lot of
Yeah.
people overall doing that
Yeah.
because people love drama.
Well,
They do.
yeah. I mean, I used to, back in the day, I used to watch Jerry Springer before Tantra because it made me feel normal. It
I
made me
did.
feel like my shit wasn't so fucked up. How bad are
Right.
you fucked up if you have to watch Jerry Springer to feel good about your life?
Yeah, that's pretty messed up.
WTF. Like, I would never watch that again. I'm just telling you, old me was a hot mess. Okay. So,
No judgment at all.
I'll be honest. I'm not ever trying to pretend I'm something I'm not, but I've
No.
been through it and I've come out the other side, and this is a much better way to be living my life, and a lot less stress, a lot more joy, ease, flow, and grace. And maybe all of humanity isn't ready for it, but that's how we can create heaven on earth, is by the people that want to tap in and try to be that together.
Right. I think for men, it's gonna be a long journey for us to really like show our emotions because whenever we do show emotions, women get turned off. There goes somebody else. Not all,
But
but some of them
it's
do.
it's the thing of, we can only meet someone's emotions as deeply as we've met our own. And if the woman, like when I used to not be comfortable with my sadness, if someone comes to me with their sadness, I'm not going to be comfortable with it because I'm not comfortable with my own sadness. We're so disconnected in our society from our emotions that we can't be there for one another when someone else is having a challenging time, because we're not
Yeah.
comfortable with it. So we go to someone else that's also disconnected and disassociated from their hurt and their pain. And they're just
Right.
partying, having status symbol, driving an amazing car, whatever, and trying to look like they've got it together, where behind the facade, the mask, the armor, there's suffering and there's pain and there's misery under there. But they're
Mm-hmm.
popping bottles and, whatever they're doing. And they're trying to make
Right.
it look like they have it together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's
I
an
mean, just it's just
illusion.
like when you see, well, like Robin Williams, he committed suicide, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It,
And more
it just
men are committing suicide. And now there's more and more men are single and than ever before, because a lot of women are doing the work and getting coaching and therapy, and some of the men are not. And so women are tired of those types of unhealthy relationships, because there's a lot of relationships where women can do a lot of the mothering and stuff of men and helping them with their traumas, or seeing, like me being a nurse and probably being a rescuer from codependent, I would see the potential in someone. I'm not doing that anymore. Who you are you today, when I'm meeting you and thinking of dating you, I'm not going to be like, oh, I see the potential and I can see this and I can understand that. No, we're not going to sit here and talk about what you think you can do. Show me what you're about and be that.
mhm.
Because I'm not here to talk about in fantasy what you think you can be and what we think you could do. Do you really have
Right.
what it takes to do that? Do you believe in yourself enough to do that? Are you willing to do the work and commit to yourself to do that? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think a
I
lot of
do.
women, we have gotten tired because the old society has expected women to do a lot for men. Like behind every great man is a great woman, and all these women be, you know, doing things for men, and they're exhausted. And if men aren't able to show up in a healthy way, it's just like, man, when men are single, their lifespan is shorter. When women are single, our lifespan is longer. Women's lifespans are shorter when we're with men because of the extra stress we can have when we're with men.
Mm.
So more and more men are finding themselves single. This is why right now I coach women as well, but I'm focusing more my messaging and stuff more with men, because right now men are having a big challenge and they're kind of getting left behind a little bit, and we need them. Even if we want to say whatever battle the sexes, women, we need men.
I will say this though. Some women play games though at the same time.
For sure.
At least
There's
mine. I'm
some
like, man, I said, really?
very dysfunctional women too. No, there are. There are. Yeah, for
Oh, it
sure.
is. Yeah,
For both parts, right? And
absolutely.
so,
Yes.
and so, I'm just here to, I help support the feminine by helping support men, because then they're going to have better men that they can be with, and their relationships are going to improve.
That's the goal, right?
And even if
Well,
I
you're doing some
support men,
incredible work.
I support men if they want to be single and not have relationship too. A lot of men are being Mr. Nice Guy and being walked all over and taken advantage of, and or in sexless marriages, and their wives are like holding out on. There's a lot of challenges men have as well, right? So I
Facts.
advocate for
Yes.
men too. I advocate for healthy relationships, whether you're a man or a woman, and I'm going to guide you on that. And then if as each one of us starts to have a healthier relationship with ourselves, we can have a healthier relationship. And if we each show up in the world being healed and letting go of our traumas, and we have more love instead of hate and fear, that starts to change how our planet is.
You're so optimistic. I love it. I love it. I do.
Thank you. I mean, I'm here for it. I
Yeah,
saw
absolutely.
what I went from into what I experience now. I know it's possible.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So,
No, I mean
yeah,
the thing about it, people got to want to change too. Because I know for myself, I want to
of
change.
course.
I mean, not to say I was bad, but I wanted to, better myself in general. Like I want to better myself physically, mentally, and spiritually for sure. And
Yeah,
that's
I
where I'm
love
at.
that.
Like I'm constantly trying to watch things and just. I got to get back on my meditation because I kind of fell off a little bit. Like I'm not perfect at all. I'm not.
No,
I fall short
meditation's
like
great
any other
though.
man. I know. I'm trying to get back on it because I kind of fell off a little bit. I will not lie about it. I was doing it a lot for a while, but I kind of just got busy with life and doing this podcast stuff. I
Mhm.
kind of got sidetracked for a while, but after talking to you,
Yeah,
was like,
it's
you know what, I
happened
got
to
to
me
get back on
too.
top of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So no
meditation
judgment.
helps you because in our world, we're like robots, so we're constantly doing, right? We've been taught
Yes.
through our society, through our childhood years to like perform, get the grades, get the this, do. So we start to be like human doings and acting like robots, but we're not human doings, we're human beings. It's how we be. Meditation
Absolutely.
is the only time that we create for ourselves where we just fucking be, where we can just tap in to who we truly are and really sit with ourselves for a moment in our energy and let all the stressors of the world and all the things that we should do go away. And then who are we true in our truest essence? It gives us the opportunity to do that. And they say that if we're too busy to be able to meditate for 10 minutes a day, we should probably be meditating for an hour a day because if our life is that busy, we need it more than anyone.
That is
So
so true.
I fell off on my meditation practice too for a while, and I've been listening to it a lot more. There's one YouTube channel that I love, and I love her Instagram as well, and it's called REA and then Earth, EARTH on YouTube. And then her Instagram is REA.Earth. And the visuals are stunning, but she's tapped in. She's really dope. And I've been listening to her meditations, and usually, like, I'll leave my house, and when I went to see the movie with my friends, I'll usually play like relaxing music for my dog. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to play the meditation on nervous system reset for while you're sleeping for 8 hours. I'm just going to play that for my dog instead because her voice is very soothing and then the sounds are good. So I was like, I'll do that instead of the relaxing dog sounds. I came in and I have like these little bells on my door. My dog was knocked out of sleep, didn't hear me come in, didn't hear me walking around. She was out because that was so relaxing.
Wow. Amazing.
So I've been just playing that. I have it playing in the background in my house, and the visuals are really stunning. It's like really mesmerizing. If you like kaleidoscopes and stuff, like it's really amazing.
Yeah.
So I really love that. I highly recommend it. And just I listen to that as I wind down at the end of the day, and I start my day with meditation. It helps you have more
So you put it
calmness. It helps your day get better too. When I worked as a
right.
nurse,
Mhm.
my days would be like less stressful than my coworkers, and they were like, why are we getting all the hard patients and you're getting all the good patients? What's happening? It's just like the universe, like my vibration was different. I was just attracting different experiences to me. And then if I did have a challenge during the day, the stress would just roll off me a lot easier, and I was able to navigate it more easily because I had started my day with meditation.
Awesome. So
Yeah.
you do yoga as well or no? Because I've done yoga for
I
a
don't
while.
do a lot of yoga. I do more
Okay.
Tai Chi and Qigong. I may start doing some Hatha yoga. And if I do yoga, I
That's a good
do
one.
Kundalini yoga because that's Kundalini in your chakras, and that's similar to Tantra.
So have you ever done Reiki before?
I naturally like Tantra is really a lot like with Reiki because it's your chakras
Right.
and your energy centers. So I have a client that, I've done so much hands on work with patients, being a nurse for 30 years, working with surgeries, all these things. And I don't know, when I started doing Tantra and I stepped away from my nursing career, because it's a lot of stress and PTSD to be in the medical field. And you're dealing with people in their most stressful moments of their lives. You know, I've guided patients, family members through the hardest, some of the most exciting times of their lives, seeing people, lives being brought into the world, to death and dying, to facing a terminal illness or a crisis, and supported people. I've impacted tens of thousands of lives through my career. And so for a while, when I stopped nursing, I was like, I just don't want to do hands-on work for a while because I'm like a big empath with energy. I was like, I just need to like recharge myself. Then when I started learning somatics, and I've been learning from a woman who's been doing somatics for like 20 years, and somatics works with your fascia. And a lot of our traumas are stored in our fascia, and or it's intertwined with our nervous system. So I've been learning a lot of things on like kind of moving and stretching out the fascia through somatics to help release traumas and things like that. And I already know how to work like Reiki with energy stuff. So one of my clients, I usually don't do hands-on work with my clients, but I had a client that I've been coaching him on and off for about a couple of years now, because he worked with me for 6 weeks, and then it took him a while, and then we started working together again. And then he was in town, and he had done some with someone else. He'd done some plant medicine, some stuff. And I was like, oh, this is a good time. Your heart chakra is going to be open. I was like, I want to meet with you while you're here, and I'll see you, and I'll just do a special thing with you while I'll do some hands-on work when you're with the Reiki practitioner. And so the Reiki practitioner was in the room. And I said, you can come over here when I'm doing something. I'm going to guide him on something to open up his heart chakra. And then I started doing stuff like even with his jaw and with different, I started touching like, and he's like fully clothed. I started touching different parts of his body. And then when I had a session with him the other day, he goes, you know, I know you don't want to do a lot of hands-on work with clients. He goes, but that was really powerful. That was really dope what you did. Because I literally helped him have like a Kundalini awakening. Like he started having like the energy started moving through his body. And he was like, I don't know your hands. Like you just knew how to like to do certain things where energy was stuck or where I had been, you know, like traumatic stuff, and you helped me release some things. And so I feel like I don't want to do this as just like when I first meet someone, but like with my VIP clients that understand the boundaries, then I can go in and start doing that. Because I just think even from being a nurse that like I kind of have healing hands. Like I would, how my patients would tell me that all the time, that I would calm them a lot when I would touch them or if I would hold their hands. And so I just think being an older generation, when I thought of healing and helping people with their hearts back in the day, I was like, oh, of course, you pick a doctor or a nurse. So I was a single mom young. So all the doctors I worked with was like, oh, you should have go to medical school and be a doctor. But I was a single mom, so I didn't do that. And then when I understood Tantra and energy healing and stuff like that, I was like, oh, I think maybe in past lifetimes I've done this before. And this is just like my path. So now just kind of integrating and bring it all together. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I appreciate you for real. You are doing a good service to people right now, for real.
Thank you.
Really.
Thank you. I really care about
absolutely.
humanity and people.
Yeah, I could tell.
We need
I
each
can
other,
feel
you
the
know?
sincerity. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely. I can feel energy right now. I really can. And I'm not even bullshitting.
Yeah, I believe it. I believe
Great
it.
energy.
I'm very
Absolutely.
open.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
tell.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, we got to do this again one day for sure. This would be great. I want
Yeah,
to do it
we
in person
definitely
one
will.
day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that'd be dope.
absolutely.
Yeah, that would totally be dope.
Yeah. Since we talk more, give out your Instagram again. I'm sorry.
Yeah, my Instagram is at yesdevita, DVITA. And my website's yestantra.com. That might be the best place to find me. Or my YouTube channel is Yes Tantra, and then all my links and stuff are in there, and the captions of my videos and things like that. So I just started getting more active on YouTube because I feel like when Instagram pulled away my account, and I have been nurturing the audience for so long and posting every day for years, and even people were like, your content wasn't even that wild. It was like really so supportive to men and women. It was really a shame, but I really feel like it was a blessing in disguise. I feel like, you know, sometimes like a bow and arrow, like sometimes you're pulled back so you can really go ahead. And I also think it was like the universe was like, you're also looking at the wrong target. Like you're focusing your energy in the wrong place. And
Right.
so, you know, if I'm posting on, I'm going to be creating more on my blog, on my website, because I can't be censored on my website. I can't be censored in my newsletter. And I'm going to have a podcast of my own soon, because having conversations like this or guesting on someone else's podcast, like they are not able to censor these conversations or shut us down. So that's where I'm going to be channeling and spending more of my time and energy.
Well, when you do have a podcast, let me know. I would love to tune in and support.
Yeah, that would be amazing. That would be amazing.
Yeah, that'd be dope. I share it on my page as well, so people know where to find you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Thank you for this
Absolutely.
conversation today. This was a lot of fun to share.
Yes. It was. It's very fun. It's very informative. Like I said before, it definitely opened my mind up a lot more. Seriously.
Yes. Yeah.
I want to be the best that I can be. For real, I do.
We all do. We
with
all
time.
do. I think we just don't know how amazing we can be. So I'm just here to remind people how powerful. I'm just here as a loving reminder of how powerful we all are. And, just to share with you the things that help to free me personally and help me have my greatest growth. And that's just what I want to share.
Well, you're doing an amazing job. Like I'm just in awe right
Thank you.
now.
And
I
thank you.
am.
You having these conversations helps people know. So
Yeah, like I said, I was gonna be honest, be transparent about stuff. I'm like, yep, I did that, or this happened to me. Like with the porn thing, that was a real
yeah.
thing, and very problematic because I was really addicted once upon a time, and it was not fun. So I don't even watch it now. I just like,
Yeah, I
boy,
help I
mm-mm.
help men right now. I work with clients that have addiction to porn as well.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's easy
You don't
because the endorphin that you
realize. And then you want that hit again. The
get.
dopamine hits and everything you get from that.
Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, no more of that. I'm done. That been like years ago. That was like I say let's see, 2011 or something like that. Been a while.
Yeah.
Been a hot
Good
minute.
that you
Yeah.
good that you got over that. Good for you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I felt like horrible, like after because when you're doing it, you don't think about it, but once you get done, it's like, damn, I did that over a movie or whatever. So I kind of felt ashamed, but now it's like I don't give a shit. I mean, it's history at this
Yeah, you don't
point.
need to feel shame about it.
No, hell no, no. It
Just
is. I mean, if it can
sharing
help
your
somebody else,
message just helps other people know that they can.
exactly, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well, I appreciate this conversation, Miss Duh-Vee-Tuh, Dominique, aka Dom, like dominatrix, right?
Yeah, me too, Patrick. This has been a lot of fun, and thanks everyone for listening.
Absolutely,
And it's been fun to share everything with you.
absolutely. All right. Well, stay tuned in for the next episode. All right. Bye bye.